to Sarah's Table. I'm Sarah Moore. I'm going to be your game master and your favorite person and your host and the neighbor who asks you to get off her lawn.
All of those things.
All of those things. I'm all those people. I'm complicated. It's fine.
Like an onion layer.
It's like more like, I would say like a parfait, because everybody likes
Everybody
parfait.
likes parfait.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Very true.
Today we are going to be playing Savage Sisters, which is a polymorph system game by Ninth Level Games. It was written by a good friend of the show, Adriel Lee Wilson. So while it's called Savage Sisters, you don't necessarily have to be a sister. This tribe lets everybody in who wants to be here. And it's kind of a really interesting look at how society puts itself together and how you treat your chosen family. So today we are going to be building all of those things. We're going to build our people. We're going to build where we live. We are going to discover what God that our people worship and how they interact with us and how that affects us. We are going to establish our code of conduct, what our people always do and what our people never do. We are going to build what our characters are. And we're going to build the great event that we will be on the eve of around the campfire, which I'm very excited about. Before we get into really fun, cool, fancy stuff, we're going to do our safety discussion, which I think is really important. If you are a responsible GM, you need to make sure that you know where everybody's lines are at the table. We want everybody to feel comfortable and feel like they can be vulnerable if they need to. And it's an important part for me as Joyful Gaming to be able to really just make sure that people feel like they can let loose. Here on Sarah's Table, you will never find sexual violence, violence against children, or withholding food as punishment or starvation. It has also been requested at this particular game that we will not be doing any kind of, I believe the term was fingernail stuff, which sounds terrible, so I think we'll be fine avoiding it. I have had the pleasure of jamming for all of these players, but I don't think that it has ever been at the same time. So I'm going to go around the table and have people introduce themselves and their pronouns and tell us the tiniest bit about themselves. And I'm going to start with the person who is geographically farthest away from me. So we're starting with Robert.
Hello, I'm Robert Hartley, GM. I use he or they pronouns. I'm fine with either. I am a full-time dungeon master on Twitch and YouTube and whatnot. And I've played with Sarah a few times now. I don't think I've ever GM'd for you yet. That is still on the cards, still to be coming.
One
but
day.
I play a lot of tabletop games as my career, which is a wonderful position to be in.
Yeah, cool. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to think farthest away. I think Lexi is the next closest to me.
Pacific Northwest. Hello, I am Lexi the First across social media. My pronouns are she, her. I am kind of a wide span content creator, anime, comics, tabletop gaming. If it's nerdy and strange, I'm probably super into it. But yeah, and I've played for Sarah before and I'm excited to be back.
Excellent. And then a very frequent face on my show, my friend Patrick.
Yes. Hello, everybody. I am Patrick Keeffe. I am a voice actor, content creator online, and I also find myself within the TTRPG space quite frequently as part of my career, which, God, my 15-year-old self would be so happy about.
Right?
Yep.
Insane, isn't it? It is insane.
Yeah.
You go to like a high school careers counselor and be like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And you're like, "I want to play Dungeons and Dragons
for money, like as a career." And it's like, okay, I don't know that'll work out. And it's like,
Working
That's why
out.
I got bullied in school.
That's right.
Exactly. That same. But yes, you can find me at That Gray Gentleman everywhere on the internet. You can also find me over at the Writers Room 7C, which we now have stuff for.
Look,
which
a
is
shirt.
very exciting.
It's
Which
a
is
very good pirate podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
And you know
very
what? We will leave the description at that, and you can find out the rest yourself. But yeah, I've played with Sarah a whole bunch, and it's always a good time.
Excellent. So, have any of you actually, aside from what I have told you, have you ever heard of this game before?
Nope.
No.
Brand new. Excellent. I love it. I love being
I've
able
heard
to
the words Savage and Sisters, but I've not heard of the game. Savage Sisters.
It's basically just the words. That's all it is.
Easy.
Yeah, super easy. So the group of people from Savage Sisters that you are now a part of is called a Sodal. The whole point of it is that they want this to be something that is not reminiscent of any one culture, because we are building our culture. And so we they've made up the word for it. So we are a Sodal, Sodal. And what we are doing, it is the eve of a great event for our Sodal. And we, the four of us, are the elders. And we are telling stories around the campfire to the young folk that are in our Sodal, telling them stories of the heroes that are in the past. And so each of the stories, it is a shared GM experience. Each of the stories is led by a different Sodal member, and the other three of us will be carrying out those stories. The GM stands for grandmother in this particular game.
Nice.
So you will each get a turn to be the grandmother. And let's decide who our spiritual guide is. In this game, it's called a Lar. It's a small god. It's a helpful spirit that protects our hearth, our fields, and our boundaries. It is unique to our Sodal. So we may encounter other Sodals around us, but no one will have the same god, the same Lar as we do. We have a couple of options. It comes always in animal form. The ones they suggest are raven, snake, fox, wolf, reindeer, or wild horse. But if none of those appeal to us as a group, we can come up with a different animal. What are our thoughts?
If we're going to pick one of those, I'm kind of partial to reindeer.
Reindeer.
Reindeer kind of stuck out to me as well. Yeah, I was like listening to them and I was like, oh, these are all like animal guide, animal companion, kind of makes sense. And then reindeer seemed like a little, oh, that's a bit out of left field.
Okay, cool.
I like that.
Let's do a reindeer.
So they are a La, and it's Lar, La.
Lar, Lar, yes.
Lar.
And
They're
so
like a minor god animal guide
correct.
sort of thing.
And if our Lar is assisting us in any way, sometimes it can manifest as either the actual animal can show up or like some sort of magical projection of the animal can show up. Yeah, we can see it. The reindeer is now going to be sort of central to our group. So its aspects are going to come up now in a bunch of these other things that we are talking about. One of them is that magic is very much alive in this game, in this world, and it is part of nature and it comes from the earth. So we have to come up with what sort of magic, sort of element is it? Is it ice and snow? Is it water? Is it earth? Like where do we get our magic from?
I do like with the reindeer. Excuse me. Apparently, I'm frog in my throat or reindeer in my throat. I do like the idea of doing something, having a magic that is sort of the antithesis of what reindeer are usually associated with, like kind of having like a different element other than, you know, like ice and snow and something along those lines.
Cool.
I mean, flames, destruction, and devastation seems to come to mind as like obviously if it's forest fires and things, reindeers,
or like you know, rebirth and everything that comes with that. There could be the I like fire imagery.
Yeah, fire.
That's
we like fire.
Yeah,
flames
I
of
think that's
creation.
awesome. Is
All
anyone
right.
else hearing the song "Reindeer Are Better Than People" on repeat in their head right now?
Just like a
Is that just me?
constant circle of it. It's true. They
I think
are.
I'm great.
they are
I think
better
I'm
than
grateful that I don't know
No.
that song.
Oh, it's
And can't
from
be earwormed.
it's from Frozen.
Mhm.
Ah, okay. Frozen 1, Frozen 2.
Frozen
Frozen
1.
I have seen Frozen 1. I obviously don't remember the song.
Kristoff
watch it
sings
again.
it as a reindeer in
He does both parts. One of the
I
most
guess,
talented singers of our time, and they had him do
Mhm.
that little ditty, which
Yep.
I love for him.
that for him. I bet he had the best time, honestly. You know,
At least he got lost in the woods on the second one, which
He
was
did.
iconic.
I have so
I
much
think we
to
should
say.
just watch Frozen. Should we just have a
There we
Frozen
go.
marathon instead?
This
There
is
you
great.
go.
I actually have a lot to say about the whole Kristoff arc, but we will come back to it at
Oh, I
another
have
time.
conspiracy
That's another
theories
time.
about that.
'Cause I have a lot of thoughts. But we do need to
Let it go.
name.
Let's move
Let
on.
it go. Let it go.
God damn it.
Good job. We need to name our reindeer, our Lar.
Okay.
I think-
I can't stop thinking of Santa's reindeer, so I'm not going to
Right.
do
Yeah,
that.
No, I
right.
think we need to kind of pick a like the name. Is it like a Western name? Is it
So
like, what
yeah.
region type of name are we going for?
Well, I mean, the description in the
Or
book, it's a very
fantasy.
short thing. It just says, choose a name for your Lar, a good name, a strong name,
Ooh.
one that they would be proud to wear, one that sounds
Ooh.
right in your mouth during songs of worship.
All right, that's pretty cool.
So,
Celestial to me, I don't know, X comes to mind. I feel like it should start with an X or have an X in it.
oh, I like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
two syllable,
I'm
like
digging
a Zandu or something, like a Xanta.
Yeah.
Xanadu.
Santa's reindeer.
Xanadu. That's our worship song.
Zan.
And we all have to be on Zan.
Zan.
Zan,
I feel like
yeah.
I feel like two syllables. Zan something.
Yeah.
Zanka. or something.
Zandra?
Zandra.
Zandra.
Thor.
Xanthor.
I like Xanthor actually.
I like Xanthor,
Xanthor.
actually.
Xanthor. All right.
Cool.
Xanthor.
So are we going with
Xan-
Xanthor, or are we adding like extra consonants for?
I reckon.
flavor?
What if we go THAW at the end, Xanthor, because then it's kind of like thawing because the fire.
Ooh.
Thaws the
I
ice.
like that.
Ooh.
Wordplay, I love it.
Xanthor. Okay.
Xanthor.
All right. All right. Good. We're doing it. So here's another thing to think about with our reindeer, with Xanthor. We take that animal as a guide and sister, thus forming our Sodal structure in the ways of that animal. Why did we choose to follow this god?
Perhaps because there was a great fire and Xanthor was like the first thing that arose from the destruction to lead us to new life.
Oh, I like that.
Legitimately
I like
what I was
that.
about to say. I was opening my mouth to say
we
that.
were all
Pretty
on the
much
same
thing.
page. I love that. I like
Right.
the idea like we originally.
This is why we are
had-
one.
Yeah.
One sister.
Like our previous Sodal, or where we were, the Sodal maybe, and then there was a fire that kind of like forced us out of our home, and we were sort of like nomads or whatever, trying to find our new place. And then Xanthor kind of helped us out of that fire, helped us into finding our new place of residence.
Yeah,
Love it.
absolutely.
And
Guided us towards
what
where
sort
we
of
are now.
lessons does this particular animal teach us? Like reindeer
Maths.
they run in herds. How do they? Does anybody know how reindeer raise their young? Do they raise them?
Not
Do you know who does
No.
know? Google.
Google. Dr.
Google
Google.
does
Love
indeed.
that.
Let's
Reindeer,
check it out.
like,
I know
Because my
that.
reindeer
like-
knowledge really begins and ends with the Frozen franchise
Yeah.
and like Santa Claus. I'm
Yeah,
not
Santa
gonna
Claus.
lie.
And
I know
songs about
what I know.
Santa.
What I know about reindeer is that all of Santa's reindeer would have to be female because the males shed their antlers over winter. So Rudolph is actually a girl
Oh,
because
And
Rudolph's always
Clarice
depicted with antlers
is
in
a
the middle of
boy,
winter.
actually. Yeah.
there we go.
Um,
Science can't argue that.
but
They do the herd raises them for at least the first 6 months. because calves are able to stand after their first few hours of life, and within a week they start eating solid food in addition to their mother's milk, and then they're weaned completely within 6 months and start immediately growing their first set of antlers around their second birthday.
Well, geez, what's taking my kids
why
so
a human
long?
baby? Yeah, why a human baby so late? Come on, mate.
Actually answer that question. It's because if they developed any further in the womb, their heads would be too big for mothers to give birth.
To come out.
Yeah. We're so brain heavy as a species.
Outside development as well.
Inefficiently designed.
Yes. Can confirm.
For having babies. Mm-hmm. Welcome to Sarah's Table, where we talk about biology. Ta-da!
I do like this whole idea of like the flames of struggle make us stronger together. Mm-hmm. And when one of us is going through difficult times, we all are, and it's the job of the Sodal to raise each other up and not sort of it's not this survival of the fittest mentality. It's
the lesson that fire doesn't discriminate between like I'm only going to burn this tree down.
Right.
Like if one tree in the forest catches light, it's everybody's problem. It's all the trees' problem because it could spread to all of you. And so if one person in the Sodal is having trouble, that fire can spread to all of us. So we all have to.
So that combination of like togetherness and resilience, that we have to work together and we have to endure.
Yeah. Love it. Good stuff. So the next section is called The Making of Evers and Nevers. Every Sodal possesses traditions in the forms of evers and nevers, things we always do and things we never do. Each player may offer one always and one never for your Sodal. Some examples: we never eat more than our fill. We always keep our heart in our head. We never hold a grudge while the sand is cool. We always welcome strangers to our fire. We never leave the burrow undefended. We always expect venom. It's good to incorporate the idea of our magic into our evers and nevers, and also incorporate the form of the reindeer into it. We were kind of discussing, how we were talking about with the fire and how it's we're grouping together and all that stuff. So if we can sort of turn that into 4 ever statements and 4 never statements.
Can I offer a never statement?
Please.
I like the never eat more than your fill, but I think it's like never eat more than you are due. Because yes, we have all of the fire imagery, but the moment that fire starts to consume more and more and more, then it leaves nothing but destruction in its wake. So like greed is awful.
Yeah, I had a similar eating one that I was thinking something like you never eat alone, because then you are.
You're vulnerable.
You're separating from others and you're vulnerable, but it also incurs that like if you're eating and there is someone else around you, they should also be eating. Like you should be offering them the food.
Should be sharing.
Everybody should be eating, because we've got that togetherness, and that Sodal stands out for each other. And I was thinking on like if anybody's in trouble, we all are, and that can also spread to anybody being hungry or wanting for food because they're not strong enough to be getting it themselves or whatever. So never eating alone, I think, is important for the togetherness of the group, making sure that everybody is always eating as well.
Yeah. I would also offer we never leave a fire without making sure that it is extinguished.
Yeah. Never leave a fire. Never leave an uncontrolled fire. Inextinguished or something. Always.
We would not want to.
Is that more of an always? Like, is it always control the fire? Always control the fire. Always.
Maybe it's always
because it's not like we're not allowed fire, right? We still need the fire.
Oh, we'd actually, we definitely would have fire.
Like, always.
Monitor? Is it?
Always monitor a fire.
Always monitor the fire.
Always. Yeah, something. It just felt like more of an always than a never, because it kind of felt like a double negative never.
Yeah.
Never don't extinguish a fire.
Never don't. All right, so we've got 2 nevers and 1 always. Need a couple more of each.
Kind of
for
like
a never, I was gonna say maybe I've been trying to figure out how to phrase it. Like never light a fire in a dry spell. Like if it hasn't, I'm trying to make it shorter. Like if it hasn't rained, or if it hasn't rained in more than X amount of time, you don't get to have fire.
I feel, maybe like it's maybe there's a specific number to it that we find holy in some way.
Let's find
4 legs or something, or like the 4 legs of a reindeer. Like if
4 legs, 2 antlers. Like if it hasn't rained in 6 days.
Yeah, if it hasn't rained in the if it hasn't rained in the limbs of a reindeer or something, and so it's like the 2 antlers, the 4 legs, and the tail or something. So if it's been 7 days since rain, nobody's allowed to have fire or something like that. Tie it to that reindeer. I also like the idea of just
never light a fire after 6 days of drought, or 6 dry days.
Never light a fire after 6 days of drought. I kind of like the idea that we have something that's not fire or reindeer related as well. That's just like one of these sorts of traditions where nobody remembers why it came about. Like you only eat with your left hand.
This was from our previous homeland kind of deal.
Yeah, there was something that's and I don't know. Like maybe there's nobody's allowed to wear a certain color, or there's like certain woods are prohibited, or
orange is just super garish, and I know our fires our whole thing,
just
but
right out, right out.
Always wear. Maybe there's some sort of iconography of like something we have to wear. Everybody has to wear a particular type of bracelet on their dominant hand or something. That could be cool. Always wear and we come up with a name for the type of wristband. So
I like that ties into kind of the togetherness. Like it's something that marks you as like part of the family.
And people think that's kind of what it's become. Like it's just a symbol these days that like
it probably we're part of our had some kind of.
But originally
function.
It would have had like an actual function. Yeah,
always
like maybe
wear your friendship bracelet.
What can we call the particular like article of clothing that we have to wear around the wrist? Always wear the.
I like that idea of like everybody. Maybe it comes from a time where we were more of like a hunter-gatherer society, or like that was more important to have everybody involved in that part of the way of life. And so any sort of like rudimentary bow and arrow situation that we had, everybody had bracers that they would wear, and they would be customized to you. And even though, things have continued on and maybe more peaceful times have come and people have been able to branch out into different ways of expressing themselves, everybody still has that bracer.
Yeah.
As a representative.
I'm going to call it. I've just looked at my keyboard and chosen some letters. I'm going to call it the Ramet. We have to wear the Ramet, and it's Ramet is what it's called. Always wear your Ramet.
Perfect.
And they can be made from various different. There's like fashion has gotten involved over the years. Like people have started to stylize their Ramets and like. Make them out of different velvet and silk and whatever else, but it's always like a wristband essentially of some kind of material.
I like that a lot.
We
need one more.
How do we feel about outsiders coming into our group?
People from without the Sodal.
Yeah. Correct. I think we would be hospitable because we come from a history of like having to work together, and like our enemy really was the fire and not necessarily war or outsiders. So I think it would be more of a hospitable culture.
Our truest enemy is division among our ranks.
And like the more people we have, almost like the stronger we are.
Yeah.
So
the more perspectives, the better we are for it.
So do we always help travelers? Do we have like a sort of a group dynamic where if you are traveling through, that we would always welcome you in and help you out?
Always have a spare bed. So like there is, so it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be in every person's house, but in the Sodal, there is always a spare bed, and if ever it's full, somebody makes like even
then
if,
you have to
like,
make another one. Yeah,
you have to make another bed, even if there's not somebody for that bed. You have to always have a spare bed.
Like it. All right, we need one more of each. One more always and one more never.
How about never hunt reindeer?
Yeah, that's
just like general
one.
reindeer.
Yeah. Never hunt reindeer. Reindeer are a sacred animal. We don't eat them. We don't hunt them.
So what happens if we find a reindeer who has passed of natural causes? Do we use it? Is there a thing that we do?
I feel like we must have like I feel like we would probably have ceremonial like it's rare that we have them because you have to come across the reindeer, but I feel like you still like you could not eat the meat, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't just make like normal clothes out of the pelts. It would have to be like a ceremonial piece. So it's like only like ceremonial uses of the body.
Yeah.
Would we add a caveat to that of like never hunt reindeer except for in times of great need?
I would actually almost say that maybe even in times of great need, you don't, because it affects what happens in your afterlife.
Right. Yeah. It's better to die.
You'd rather die uninhibited of this never, as opposed to live, but sully yourself.
Yeah. I think I prefer that. That like it's better to die than to have hunted a reindeer because of Xanathor giving us all a chance to continue our lives anyway. Like our ancestors were brought to this new place by Xanathor. And so our lives are kind of already indebted to reindeers. And if the reindeer is the only way if killing a reindeer is the only way to continue, then we should spare the reindeer the same way that Xanathor spared us, kind of thing.
And I'm sure that there are like some teenagers within Sodal who are like, okay, but like, what if it's already dead and you're starving? Maybe like that.
There's like a deep philosophical discussion.
Yeah, that's
of like,
when you get into
like when, if ever, is it okay? And
but
like,
you basically never hunt it, even if you need to live. That part is clear, and then it gets what if it's already?
What if it's already? Yeah,
exactly.
What if a wolf is already eating it, and then
right?
And how about reindeer antlers? The reindeers shed their antlers naturally and then grow new. So would we use reindeer antlers for our tools and weapons and things?
Yeah, I feel like absolutely. As long as you're not
the ceremonial.
Well, but I think because it's because they naturally shed them. Like we are not taking them from them while they're still using them, right? So if they have already shed,
so you cannot take it off a corpse to do it, but you can if you find it shed.
Yes. I think so.
Yes,
and so I think that's another way that you can perhaps
it's a gift at that point.
Perhaps our last always one is we always use all of the gifts from the reindeer to their greatest capacity.
Yeah. Which would be an interesting one, because then the younger generations might be like, well, that means that their meat is also a gift to us, and
or their pelts, or whatever.
We should be using their pelts.
Anything
it's a gift
freely
to us.
given.
Which is why we have to sit those young whippersnappers down by the fire and tell them
the stories.
The stories.
I think there'd be like rules, maybe not unwritten rules, about like what you can use the reindeer antlers for as well. Like weapons for hunting is fine, maybe, but like not decoration. You wouldn't like. There'd be certain things that's like disrespectful,
like a religious
disrespecting.
Piece.
Yeah. Like using a reindeer antler to make a toilet roll holder. Like that's
probably
not.
Could not use a reindeer weapon on other humans. It can only use them like on animals, maybe. Like you can't use them in self-defense. You can only use them for like hunting for need.
Yeah, that would have to be a different material.
Yeah. Like it gets like real particular.
Yeah.
I would say always accept the gifts of Xanathor, so long as they are freely given.
Yes, I like that.
Or even just always accept gifts so long as they are freely given.
Yeah, true.
It's like strangers gifts. Come through even and give you something. You gotta be
like this started with
not take it.
Yeah, this started with Xanathor, and then you know,
I love that.
Which is an interesting one for tying back to the early one of never eat alone. Because if somebody's with you and you are hungry, you start to eat, and then you can't eat until they eat, and you offer them the food. Hey, do you want to eat with me? And then they have to take it because it's a gift that you're giving them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
even though they're not hungry, they're forced to have something, even if it's a bite of something, so that you can then eat.
Yeah.
So
Which
even
could
if you're
be,
not hungry, you're
which could
often
be
given food.
could be very difficult for if other Sodals have like a don't take things if you are, you know.
Don't eat more than you.
Right. Yeah.
So there could be fun ways around that too, because I know
there's some interesting
in
dynamics.
Thai culture,
Yeah.
it's bad luck if you give a knife as a gift to someone or anything sharp, because you're severing that relationship. If you do something, if they're a friend, you're cutting that friendship. But a way that we kind of get around that is like, so say if I want to give you a knife as a gift because I got you this cool dagger, you would give me a penny in return. So you bought it from me.
Then it's like you bought it.
It wasn't a gift. So it saves the relationship. So they probably like in that like food situation where there's probably have a small thing where it's like, okay, here's like literally a grain of rice to like satisfy the necessity. We all know what is happening here.
Right.
Yeah. I quite like that. Yeah, it lends itself in sort of like the iRobot things where it's like Asimov came up with the 3 laws, and then all of the stories were about how those laws actually break and where are the loopholes between them and how they interact and stuff. It feels like that. We've got all of our alwayses and neverses, and then it's like
some of them are contradictory. Like I love that there's a situation where like one of us is like, oh, you like, hey, I just got food, come eat with me, and I'll I just have this new thing that I want you to try.
Yeah.
It's like, but I've already eaten.
But I've eaten.
You're just stuck there, like staring at each other, like, what do we do?
I have to accept a gift, but I'm not allowed to eat more than my due. Just starts doing star jumps. I need to work up an appetite. I need to work up an appetite.
Let me work up these calories, and then I'll have a little bit. It's fine.
Okay, then I can have a bite. I can just a bite.
Yeah.
I will accept the gift. And then I'm not going to eat it yet, but I will eat it.
Hold on to it.
It's like, but I can't eat alone.
And I'll give it to someone else.
I can't eat alone when I finally am hungry to eat it.
Where's Terry? Does he want some?
Susan, come eat with us.
Maybe it would,
please, for the love of God.
Maybe it would lead to snacking being kind of like a frowned upon thing. There's no rules against snacking, but there's dinner time, there's meal times, and because of this whole thing of like I've already eaten, it would be like people would. Yeah, it would make snacking sort of a frowned upon thing because it means that you're less likely to be hungry when somebody offers you food.
Or it could be a lazy thing, like because you can't eat alone. So if you start eating, then it forces someone else to stop the productive thing that they're doing to join you.
To eat with you.
Yeah. So I think like snacking is not like there's no laws against it or anything, but it's kind of like just this unwritten frowned upon thing.
But if that
you only eat at meal times, there are meal times that you're allowed to eat.
Yeah. Be like there are like, because of that, there are different segmented meal times instead of having the
very
3
specific.
big.
Yeah, there are very
like
specific
meal
times
throughout the day
you are allowed to eat.
Like lunch A, lunch B, like back in school.
Yeah.
11sies.
Yeah. Well, and also because
second breakfast.
Well, this ties into it now. So, what sort of landscape do we live in? I love how excited you got just then, Lexi. It was like,
I know, because I feel like because we have these rules about like not making fire in droughts and these things, that it has to be a place that is generally more warm or more wet. Sorry, I meant more wet. So something that does regularly tend to get like rain and stuff. So you're not just like constantly going weeks without making a fire, because that's not good for civilization. So it has to be somewhere that is more warm, so droughts are more rare to trigger that never.
Yeah, maybe in a more temperate climate.
Definitely don't know anything about reindeers and where they come from. Is there like? Well, I mean, because we can't be in an Arctic, I imagine. So,
but what's interesting about this is we definitely could be in a place where you aren't expecting to find reindeer, and maybe that is why we are sort of like there is for some reason there's a herd of reindeer here, and we've sort of attached ourselves to them. We're making this world up, and it's got magic in it. So
it's got magic. It can be in anything.
It can sustain.
We're underwater.
Yeah.
The Seattleite in me is very, very partial to, a nice evergreen forest with lots of rain.
Yeah, I was thinking something along those lines.
Like a heavily forested area. Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely was picturing forest this whole time.
Well,
Bit
and
through the
what I
forest
think,
and like rocky mountainous terrain through the forest. Like there's lots of areas for caves and
So are
and
we-
hills and mountains and things.
do we live in caves?
I had in place that we were in like a small village near a cave system, and the cave system was used for like cold storage essentially, where it's a bit
That's
of
I like
cool.
that. Yeah.
I'm all about that.
Cool. Well, and so I was going to say, like, heading back, circling back a little bit to the eating and the segmented eating times and everything, is that there's got to be people who stay up through the night to make sure that there's safety in our village, in our town, however we are calling it. So there's definitely like, there would have to be enough people up
Like shifts.
to do those ever nevers at the same time, so that it's not like, well, you don't get to eat all night.
You don't get to eat because you're the only one staying watch.
The only one awake. So what sort of housing do we have? Do we build huts? Is this a tent situation?
Yeah, how technologically advanced are we? Like, is it sod huts or
How technologically advanced are we allowed to be?
So I mean, this game was sort of inspired by like, what if
Frontier
Conan the
kinda.
Barbarian was like a kick-ass lady?
right?
Hell yeah.
So you know,
Conan
I
the
don't.
Barbarian type tents and huts.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that we don't have like, you know, we don't have houses with electricity.
Well,
I think
no.
we're more.
Yeah, gotcha.
Intense, I feel like wouldn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense in a wooded.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like we're
wooded
less of a
area.
nomadic society too. If we're doing the cave system,
I
we're
was going to
probably-
say, like, because reindeer, they do migrate. So do we migrate to follow the reindeer, or do we?
I think
We're in one
don't,
spot.
because we did like the one migration. We were like, Xanthaw is a migrating thing, and Xanthaw let us here. And if we need to migrate again, like Xanthaw will like
Xanthaw
will
will tell
know.
us.
Like, yeah, they'll tell us.
Yeah.
So
I-
Xanthaw
it's
Like,
let
we don't
us
want to follow
here.
them. We don't want to bug them. You know, let them. They do their thing. We
You
do
come
our
to us
thing.
when you need us.
We're not
Yeah,
here to
they will.
harass
They
the
will
reindeer.
always return, and
Yeah.
if they don't, we know there's something wrong.
there's
and
like,
Like, if
know
we
that
haven't
it's
seen
time to
reindeer
follow.
in
Like
like
that.
a year, like if a full year cycle goes through and the reindeer haven't come by again, then we're like, oh, maybe we got it.
We should
Hey,
follow
why
these
no
tracks.
reindeer?
Yeah.
We should go where they went, and this is them telling us we're moving on
Yeah.
forever.
Then we got
Yeah,
like
I like
find
that.
them again.
Yeah, I like that we're not nomadic. We don't migrate because we trust that they will always come back, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't.
And
It's
if
fine.
they
There's
don't,
a
then we shall
calamity.
follow.
But we've been here for a while. Like, how long has it been since Xantho led us or our ancestors here? Was it in our
Like a
lifetimes?
solid, like before our lifetimes. Like, I like the idea that these are like
This is
not
a
like
couple lifetimes.
thousands of years, but like definitely older. It's like outside of our memory. Like we're going off stories.
So
Right.
we would. So the stories that we are sitting down as grandmother to tell the younger generation around the campfire
Yeah,
are
even if it was
stories
just,
that
like,
we
our
Are
heard
the
as
ones that
children
we
as well.
had heard. Yeah.
Like maybe our parents were children when they got here. So like our parents were firsthand, and we were the first generation of like secondhand.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
definitely
now,
thinking we
now the
should be
kids are
second
questioning us,
hand,
and we're like,
maybe third.
excuse you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Do you know who we are?
Pardon.
Yeah, I definitely feel like we shouldn't be first hand,
Yeah.
but I don't know whether the people who told us should have been first hand or second hand. Are we second or third hand? Because the stories,
I feel like
the-
we're probably like third, fourth generation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
the,
third.
the
I think third's a good like.
stories have a lot more leeway to be a little bit crazier. Like in the games that we end
That's
up playing
true.
as the grandmother, we have a lot more leeway to be like, that doesn't make sense if it's been down a few filters.
Yeah.
People can be like, that wasn't the actual element of what happened, but it's
Mhm.
changed throughout stories. Yeah, I like that. So I think we're like third, maybe fourth generation
Yeah.
of like since they arrived, but not hundreds, not thousands of years.
Mhm.
So the next section that we need to do, and I think we're going to do this section and then we're going to take a quick break before we build our actual characters. But the next one is called Go All In on the Animal Nature of Your Lar. So your animal, well, animals possess, you know, a bunch of different adaptations that have come over thousands of years, and they are very specific to the area of the world that they live in. Some of them burrow, some of them climb. They hunt in packs, or they're, you know, very lone. Like some are nocturnal. So what from the reindeer have we as people adopted?
As a player, am I allowed to use Google, or is that for the GM only?
Yeah.
Okay. Google and reindeer behavior.
Yeah, I was going to say, why didn't we pick an animal we knew about? We're like, reindeer, that sounds fun. And then everything's about reindeer behavior.
Because it's fun.
Yeah, right.
So they are very defensive, and it's definitely like the herding behavior and like protection in numbers. They communicate using snorts and grunts. We probably didn't take that one.
Did we when we're out hunting, do our hunters have like
I like that.
a guttural
guttural noises that they make to be like
right, so that they're not yelling, "Hey, I found a thing over here."
Over here. Yeah.
I do like that there's like within our society's language, like some of the, because obviously I imagine like the hunters and gatherers are still a big part of our society.
Yeah.
I do like that instead of like slang or anything like that, or instead of like colloquial terms, it's colloquial like grunting and like different different guttural things of being like, yeah, or like that was cool, or like you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Ooh. So may I
Look at this
propose that like 99% of the time our culture is very defensive. However, the only time that you are allowed to just like openly fight another person, even using reindeer weapons, is when trying to secure a partner.
Oh.
Because that's what they do. They use their large antlers to fight prior to breeding season. And we will be less gender strict in how that goes and much more consensual in all of it. But the ritual idea of, I think less of like a, hey, I want to challenge you and whoever wins gets this person, more of like a, like maybe like
we both like each other and like this
so now
is
there's
part of
like
us.
A ceremonial thing, or like I like
who's going to be dominant in this relationship when we are.
Here's the top, here's the bottom.
Or maybe it's like a dance that just represents a fight, but something where you actually, it's something either representing a fight or having some kind of ceremonial fight, and it involves antlers. Oh, maybe you have to you cannot propose until you find reindeer antlers in the woods.
Oh,
you gotta find them yourself.
I like the fighting thing. Like maybe there's a dueling aspect to our Sodal, aspect. Like we have kind of like a jury system, like a peer review juries kind of thing for most of our judicial issues. But if it is a problem that is specifically to do with matters of the heart, then you're allowed to duel the person. So like you're allowed to challenge them to a duel. So like if you're accusing somebody of stealing your partner or like adultery or something like that, then that alone can be settled with violence. Like it can be, you can challenge them to a physical fight or something.
Yeah. And I like it specifically being not like a challenge where you get someone or something at the end of it, just a challenge, literally just to get it out of your system.
Yeah.
Just like I'm mad at you, we're fighting it out.
You're fighting it out, and once one of you goes down, it's not a fight to the death. It's once one of you goes down, and clearly the other one is.
If I literally just got a green light from grandma to beat you up.
Right.
That's all this is.
Yeah. And then I'm going to feel so much
Mama
better.
said knock you out.
Exactly. And if I lose, may I at least have gotten a good hit in somewhere.
Yeah.
You know,
I like the idea that we're approaching relationships with like, regardless of gender representation within those relationships, you always treat that person with respect as if you were to look at them in a dueling situation. Like you are looking at each other as your equals. Like there is no one above the other, except in maybe marital situations, but that is up to your own personal and like.
Well, and that's a thing that you decide then. You know, like
maybe those duels are more private.
It's a very private.
There's like it has like an implication that like there might be younger folk that are much more physically capable, that feel like they are more entitled to do these things with the like stealing people's partners and stuff, and like seducing other people's extramaritally, because they know that the
they can win a fight.
Judicial system that goes in that is that the person who is wronged would have to challenge them to a duel, and they're like, I can beat him in a fight. So they'll see weedy folk as being like, I can steal your girl because I can beat you in a fight.
So
and so there's like a frowned upon.
You are not a fighter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but or you just have to be very smart about things, like wisdom could beat might in a fight if it's applied correctly.
And maybe that's a situation where there's like
Probably a legend about
like
that.
This
Like
little
a
like
rabbit
young
and
buck
hare
goes
legend.
into a fight, and then all of a sudden the older individual like lays down their weapon. They're like, "What's going on here?" Is like, "Oh, I never wanted to fight you. We wanted to invite you." It's like, oh.
So
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Interesting.
Is our society polyamorous?
I think
reindeers?
that's
I don't know.
Yeah, I
like
think
to
that
it's a
like
very it's a very like kind of
It
it takes
varies.
a village kind of community. Like you can have even if you have like a monogamous romantic set, there's probably still like, but everyone is helping raise the kids, and it's just a very like.
And then like maybe if you like if there are individuals who want to pursue something like that, that is, I think it's perfectly
like it's
perfectly
not
allowed.
uncommon,
It's not
and
frowned
it's also
upon.
not uncommon to be like, hey, we're no longer monogamous, and you are our reason. Would you like to
right,
marry us?
exactly.
Yeah, like,
You were very impressive in that fight.
yeah. So about that duel.
Okay, thank you.
I like the way you carved that antler.
Oh, boy. Yeah,
Do we have any sort of, because humans are somewhat uncommon in that we don't have a mating season, and reindeers do.
Oh, interesting.
Do we have any sort of a mating season, or like even if it's just like a societally
is there a specific
driven
season
one?
where they shed their antlers, or is that kind of whenever?
Well, we've got here.
I believe it is. Yeah, there's a
So I would say that
it's going into winter. They shed their antlers because it takes quite a lot of resources to keep the antlers.
So I would say that's one of those things where like it's like that's where you kind of get into the like really like traditional versus kind of new thinkers, where it's like the tradition is like you propose during antler shedding season. Like that's what you do.
That's courting season.
That's courting season. And then you have like the younger generations who are like, okay, but no. That sounds lame. There's no reason. Don't want to.
I do like the idea, and it does make more sense that like, you propose during antler shedding season, and then if you are to like have a child and like go into mating season, that takes like that act takes place during the winter months, so that as time goes on and during those more formative periods where like the individual giving birth is going to need to like be properly fed and properly taken care of, that those harsher months are during that beginning gestation, so you don't really like and during the more temperate months is when the development really takes place.
Giving birth, and
when you'd be giving birth.
So it's not middle of winter when you are
exactly. So you don't have that. Like that would help. I guess encourage like more healthy and prosperous birth rates. So we like kind of take a nod from that from the reindeer.
So is there like a week in the that's like wedding?
There's a
week?
huge festival.
You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like, is it like a wedding
like,
festival? Like you have to have your proposals in by.
You gotta get it in by a certain date. You gotta wait till next year.
Yeah. And some of the new age kids are like, maybe I'll just have my own wedding that I don't share in part of the village ceremony. It was like, why are you so selfish? Like, that's so selfish, right? Self-centered. Like, that's not being part of the village. That's not being part of the togetherness. That's being an individual.
Well, and that could also
there's a lot of like pressure, like Valentine's Day. It's a lot of pressure to be like, oh, is he going to propose this year?
Right.
You have to wait an entire new year.
Yeah, because if you miss that window, you're not proposing again until next year if you're doing it right.
Look, I've like, we've been going out for a long time now, and she still hasn't made that move. Like, look, she like, I got the box of chocolates, but like, there's nothing in it, and she won't.
Can you imagine the idea of like, being ready to propose and not being able to find antlers that were shed before it, like do you then go out after that and keep looking for them so you have them for the next year, or is it like
maybe you're bartering? Maybe there's that one guy who goes out like the dinner reservations on Valentine's Day, right? And then you sell them to the people who are doing
found
it
a bunch. They try to like find
they
a way.
hoard antlers and then like barter them out, and that person is seen as a jerk, but it's not against the rules,
right? Right.
And people are meant to be like, oh, if you're meant to find your own antlers, and he's like, yeah, but if I go and pay this guy some money, he'll take some that he's got and hide them next door,
and then I can find them over. Yeah.
And then, like, what do you value more? Do you value a partner that has the resources to buy it, or do you value a partner that like went out and found their own? You know,
that's interesting.
Like, what do you like in a partner?
Yeah,
and is it
how betrayed would you feel if you thought they had found it and then you found out that they had like bought it,
and then they had actually bought the antlers? Yeah. Is it
like that one?
Is it traditional that any particular partner has to be the one to do it? Is it the person who first asked you out that then has to propose?
No, I don't think so. I think
it's one of the partners, because then you'd also get people who are like, they're both going out looking for antlers to propose to the other and didn't know.
It's a very gift of the Magi situation. I got you antlers. I got you antlers.
Yeah, like it could be age, like whoever's older proposes.
The elder
there's like an age hierarchy in a lot of societies.
I think that works. Yeah, regardless.
I like that it's not automatic.
One person's going out trying to find antlers, and the other person isn't ready for it, so they're going out ahead of them and like hiding all the
antlers, finding the antlers and then putting them in different places.
Imagine someone being tricked and like buying a tree branch off of someone who convinced them it was an antler.
Yeah.
That's like
that's only happened once or twice.
Cousin Jed, who just like found a downed tree and was like, I think this is it.
Yeah.
Surprise every time, buddy.
That's like what kids play on the playground, and they're like playing house when they're little. You know, they give each other like tree branches as
like
pretend
branches
antlers.
that look like antlers.
Yeah. Oh.
I really like our group, you guys. It's so
I'm liking this.
I'm getting
together,
invested.
Yeah,
I'm like second session, right? I'm not ready to let go.
I'm legit thinking. I'm sitting here going, I feel like we should do this every week just so to help me with world building for my D&D world.
I need to say,
I need to come up with this sort of village for my world.
Yeah. What would be a really, really interesting, like different program is just doing world building.
Just world building.
Yeah.
It's genuinely like when I finally get around to it, I did intend to like set up a new world and do some world building and stuff on videos on YouTube and things. And what I would do is just a bunch of different games. There's so many TTRPGs that lend themselves really well to world building for bigger games.
Yeah.
Like the Quiet Year is a perfect one as well.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so many good games.
I like these questions too. These are good questions.
These are good questions.
Yeah, a lot of the 9th level games are I mean, some of them you never roll dice ever. Some of them are just questions, like, which I think is a really interesting way of doing it. Like, because it is, I was gonna say, I almost said at the beginning, we're not playing it this session, but we are, because that's what this is.
I see why you wanted this like on camera, on video, whatever you're going to call it. Like,
I feel this is a really important part of the game. And like, I absolutely could have done this work on my own and been like, here are your characters and here is our tribe and here we go. But like, I just like, you were just saying, you feel like you get so much more invested in it if you are adding to it, if you're the one that's coming up with everything. And as a group, I certainly would not have come up with, it would have been different, very different, like it would have been a different thing, which it would have been fine. And I'm sure we would have had a great time and we would have played it and everybody would have been a grandmother at one point. It would have been great.
But now we feel truly invested.
Yeah, but now everybody is having their own little moments about what is important in this group of people, and that's truly what this game is about. Before we wrap up the animal nature section, is there anything else that you feel?
I had an interesting question. Do we have any sort of like beast of burden animal?
Oh,
good question. Yeah, we would. I'm sure.
Horses, perhaps? Certainly not reindeer. I don't think anybody ever rides a reindeer.
No, I don't think that. Yeah, I think that's maybe bison.
Could be bison.
I like bison. I like that.
This is fun. Throw it out there.
Yeah,
I think that makes sense.
I like it.
Yeah. Well, and that is a creature that we could use every part of in our society. Pelts and lots of meat, and the bones could be used for things, and like I'm sure that it would be use every bit kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is there anything is there anything in the idea of the antlers being covered in like a velvet first that needs to be sort of scrubbed away before they're like ready to fight? Is there something we can do that incorporates that theme into our society?
Ooh. I definitely think there should be. I mean, maybe that's a coming of age situation. Like when you get to be a certain age, when you would be able to sort of reach whatever adulthood is, our version of a bar mitzvah / bat mitzvah.
Maybe everybody learns some sort of like crafting as well, as far as like making clothes and like making your own, putting things on before a fight, so nobody's truly like injured or anything like that. And if such a thing were to happen, I think it's like, all right,
maybe it's
full stop.
Maybe it's the what did I call it? The remat.
The
maybe
remat.
It's the remat. The remat. You have to make your own remat as like your rite of passage. Yeah. And maybe the first one you have to make has to be made of reindeer antler velvet.
Oh. Or perhaps you are given the one of reindeer antler velvet, and then when you come of age,
you have to take it. You have to shed yours. Yes,
shedding that velvet and putting your own on.
You are given one as like the birth gift or whatever, and then like every year when you're growing up, obviously you're given new ones
to fit.
And it's usually by your parents, but can be through whatever your guardian is. They'll give you a new remet each year, made of reindeer velvet each time.
That's
and then
a big thing
eventually, once you reach the age of adulthood, you make your own and shed the reindeer velvet for some other material.
I love
and from that point on, from that point on, adults are they're not allowed to have reindeer velvet as their material
because you've shed it. So what? How old do you think? What is the age of reaching adulthood? 6
years old.
4.5. Get out there.
4.5.
Yeah, exactly.
It says here reindeers mature at 2. So,
I do like the idea that maybe there's like an intermediate period, like maybe at like 12, right as you're about to enter like the teenage years. Then like at the end of your 12th year is when you create your first one. And then, and that's maybe just like a plain, like, you add to it throughout, like each year you add a little bit more and more as your, like your individual.
It's like the rings of a tree.
Grows.
Like it's a different.
Exactly. Like it's a different pattern or a different like imagery that maybe speaks to you as time goes on. But as like, and as you get older, it's like, oh, you can see how you've grown and how your interests have changed.
Maybe there are things like there's a certain either color or material that represents if you got married, there's like a color or material that represents like your first hunt or something like that.
Having a child, maybe determining what your vocation is.
Into the scouts.
Yeah.
I've got my hunt badge. I've got my
hunt
badge.
Yeah. I like that. That's cool.
It's almost like a life story kind of.
And then I would say that probably when you pass, it's passed down to your
whoever.
It's like willed to a person, perhaps.
Yeah. Or maybe it gets buried with you because that was your life. Like when you're done, it's done. It gets burned when you die.
Oh yeah, fire. Yeah.
Oh, new life. Full circle.
Yes.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. It gets burned when you die. I think.
Gets burned when you die.
Got real hype right there.
No, it's good. I like it.
I love a full circle moment.
And so, like finding if somebody was to die out on a hunt or something, and finding their ramket is the remet is more important than finding their body in
Yeah.
And I also think
because their body can go back into the forest and back into the circle of
Yeah.
life. They'll get eaten by things or whatever. It's not as disrespectful to not be able to find their body as it is to not be able to find their remet.
Do you think that that's a new thing that might be changing with the younger generations, and the realization that it's like a lot of the stories that we have are just stories, and maybe it's important to keep the remets as sort of a record of what has happened with our people?
Right.
And like that is
because letting go is hard. And so it's like, if you don't feel the connection to the symbolism, then you're like, well, I loved my parents and I want to hold on to
I want to keep it.
Yeah, I want to remember their life. I don't want to let their life, I don't want to start over. I want to hold on.
Right.
Yeah. And maybe that's like, that becomes like, even though that tradition that's like, you're keeping the original remet that belongs to them, maybe part of the funeral process is that you take a look at that remet and you replicate it, so that you are sort of like going through that person's life and you are experiencing what they are experiencing, and the one that you hate is the one that gets burned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think it's probably like one person's job.
Yeah, like that's their whole thing, is they replicate remets of
they usher people. They usher the remets into.
Yeah, that
into
could
the
be good
next world.
for one of the stories of us. One of our grandmother's stories could be the person who is making the remet, and they're telling the story of the person that they're. So it's like it's a shared thing. That person is the best at it, and it's their job to do it. But they will have an audience while they're doing it, and they will tell you the stories. They will tell you the stories of this person's remet.
That might be an interesting framing device as far as telling these stories as we are telling them around. Are we weaving those into remets as we are remembering? And like maybe that's an annual thing to remember like those heroes.
Is there a Sodal remet?
Like from our entire story.
Like a giant, like
that
a
we are
like a
all
big
weaving into,
like a tapestry.
Yeah. Is there like like
please.
a like that we
I would like there to be.
Yes, please. as it's
I think that's really neat.
Like starting from,
But if you move on, if you do end up migrating, the tapestry stays behind. And the new generations might not want to do that, but that's what you're supposed to do. The tapestry has to stay behind.
Yeah.
When you start over.
And then it's left in the cave, so it like it's like preserved.
So
because you start over, it's that fire, it's that complete fresh start.
Wait, so if we move on, do we burn the village down?
I think we just leave it, or like pack up what we can, and then otherwise just like leave it.
I actually, you know what? Because that's where we came from. I think it's definitely a controlled burn. I think maybe we break it down, take what we need to be able to rebuild,
burn what's left.
Like anything that's left is like you do, like you create that sort of big moat in the ground so that the fire cannot spread. And then everything goes into the pit and is set ablaze. Homes, tools, anything
that's not coming with.
Right. And then anything that is a record of what happened is then maybe like put in something and like put in a place in the cave, so that anyone who were to come across this land knows that we were here.
Yeah.
God, I like that so much.
All right.
Cool. Love it.
It's awesome.
I love that none of this.
Shake it out a little. I got goosebumps. Ooh.
Oh, that's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
And
cool.
I feel like this is an excellent place to take our bio break, as we're all like, oh yeah, no. Okay.
Yeah.
Let that sink in a little bit.
Let it sink in.
Ooh,
So let's take like about 5 to 10 minutes, and everybody watching at home, go grab another drink and another snack, and like if you have a fireplace, it's maybe appropriate to light a fire in your fireplace safely.
Light up a candle or two.
Like light a candle, also very good, which would also be very safe. Safety is important. I'm not condoning uncontrolled fire. But we'll be back in a few minutes.
Cool.
Bye. Welcome back. On our break, we ate shredded cheese and talked about butts.
Yep.
That's everything I want in life. Like, if that's not my brand, I don't know what it is.
It's a very specific brand, and we are here
It's
for
cheese and
it.
butts.
Cheese and butts.
Everything I stand
Cheese
for
and
as a
butts.
person.
It's pretty great.
Man.
Yeah.
So we have gone very far into what our Sodal is. Like, we have really dug into our traditions and our past and how things are changing and the God that we follow. And it's just like far more than, honestly, than what I do for most of our games. Like, not this particular game, but just like our games in general that I play. Like, we don't ever get to have this much world building as a group. And I'm super jazzed that we have been doing it. And now we are going to build our particular sisters.
Ooh.
So it's called Savage Sisters. You do not have to identify as a she, her, or a she, they. You do not have to be a sister to be included as a sister, if that makes sense. So the first thing we're going to do is decide each of our genders and each of our pronouns. And my pen is broken, so nobody gets any notes about it. Just kidding.
Yeah, have to remember.
You just have to remember. Please remember. And I get to make a character for me too, which is exciting.
That is
To be
exciting.
part of it.
Included.
Yay! I'm gonna go she, her. I feel very she, her, kind of always, and so that's where I'm. I don't know if you've all met me, but I'm pretty femme. So that's where I'm gonna live. What about the rest of you? Where are we?
I think I'm gonna stretch it a little. We're gonna do a she, they today.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I might go with she, her, he, him.
Oh,
Like, kind of like
great.
really depends on the day, like kind of gender fluid
Cool.
kind of deal. Yeah.
I have an NPC creator table that I use a lot as a dungeon master, so I'm going to roll randomly for my gender.
Okay.
And I got cis female, so I'm going to be she, her.
Great. So there are several roles. The way this is written, there happens to be 4 different roles. We can spread them all out, but if anybody feels very strongly about having the same one as someone else, I am in support of that. I'm going to read you the 4 choices. And the question that we are answering with them is, how do I solve my problems? Do I solve it with my wisdom and perception? If you do, you are she who wields the knife.
Ooh.
Do you solve it with wild magics? If you are she who wields the spear. Do I solve it with my powerful presence? If you are, then you are she who wields the sword. Or do I solve it with my strength and heart? And if you are, then you are she who wields the shield and axe. What is jumping out at people? I will say the swingiest of that particular group is she who wields the knife. That is maybe the one that is a little bit more complicated mechanically. The easiest, not that any of them are technically hard, but the easiest to play would be she who wields the spear.
And that is the
Wild magics.
Wild magics.
She who wields the sword is kind of jumping out at me for
Okay.
division. I'm kind of thinking.
Cool.
If-
With your powerful presence.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'm liking she who wields the spear, not necessarily because it's the easiest, but wild magic.
Wild magic.
Fun.
I'll let you choose next, Sarah.
I'll take the swingy one. I will be she who wields the knife with my wisdom and perception.
Cool. So I'm got the shield and axe.
Okay, so that means
and what's the shield and axes solve problems with my
strength and heart.
Strength and heart. Heart.
Yes.
Heart.
So that means that I will have a D4. Patrick, you will have a D6. Lexi, you will have a D8.
My dice are definitely not buried under my Starbucks iced lemon loaf.
Definitely not.
Which is now sitting on my printer instead. I'm organized.
Perfect. You are very organized. That's
Careful.
where you keep it on the printer.
Yeah.
And then, Rob, you're going to have a D10.
I have so many D6s. This was a good choice.
So we need to find out what our name is.
Yes.
Everybody gets to name themselves. So naming, this is a good time for us to come up with a naming convention for our Sodal.
Ooh.
Is
All right,
it
so-
a first name, last name situation? Is it a first name, and then like a descriptor of either our person or what we do in the Sodal?
Right.
Or are we named according to adjectives? Like how as a group do we get named?
So I like the first name and then a descriptor.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the idea that kind of comes about not that I've hiked the Appalachian Trail. I just have several friends who have. But there's sort of a naming convention on the trail is that you are given a nickname. Like you can't choose your nickname. Like somebody gives the nickname to you. Like I have a friend who's known as Coffee Pot because they like that was their thing, is like they were always the person who made the coffee and all that jazz. I have another friend who is known as Tripper because he tripped a lot.
He trips a lot. So do you not get your own name? Did one of the other Sodal name you?
I think so.
Okay.
Well, if that's cool with everybody else, like I've always really enjoyed that. I've been slightly terrified of it.
Yeah, that means we get to name each other.
So we get a given name at birth, and then people go by their nickname that is given to them as they grow up.
Or it's like Jeremy the blank. But like sometimes sometimes people will call you Jeremy, and sometimes people will call you Tripper or something.
I would
Jeremy
imagine
the butt face.
The butt face.
He's actually a really nice guy. It's a complicated nickname.
Nicest guy. I feel like
very handsome, oddly enough.
I feel like it would be
very nice guy.
an interesting commentary then on like who is allowed to call you which parts of your name.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if somebody calls you just by your first name, is that disrespectful? Or unless they're like an immediate family member, or, you know, like how does that work?
So not, again, pulling again, because it's a culture that I'm familiar with, Thai culture. It's actually interesting. There's something similar where when you're born, you have your legal like first and last name, and you know it's long and it is what it is. And then you're given it's your nickname basically, pretty much at birth. But the nickname is pretty much what you go by everywhere, except maybe in like the most like professional of settings. Like you'll have friends you go to school with and they don't even know it, what your legal first name is. So it's very much like that's like the name you go by, and then your legal name is like it's really just that. It's like a legal, very formal name. And the nickname always has like some kind of meaning. I mean, it could be literally anything. Sometimes it's like the English word pear. like literally just like a pair. Sometimes it's a Thai word that means chubby because you were a chubby baby. My Thai nickname that I had was
how many Thai babies?
Because I was born with giant cheeks.
Yeah.
You know,
aren't all babies chubby? Isn't that the thing? Isn't that one of the defining features about babies?
On, like,
all babies are known as
cute.
chubby.
Like I knew someone whose name was Note, like literally just Note. The English word note was their name.
Oh, nice.
So it could be anything. And then my uncle, his name translates to small because he was a really small baby. So it really was cute. Anything. But it was something you got from the beginning as opposed to something that you got later on based on your, personality.
And maybe
in
like
terms
if you
of
have accomplishments that changes your nickname.
Do you get
you
it?
Could, like earn a better name if you have a bad one.
Is it
or a worse
with
one.
your remet maybe when you shed?
Oh yeah.
Do you get to choose?
That's when you get your
is it a chosen name?
It's your name.
Do you choose another? Like, is it your like when you're shedding your remet? Are people giving you names and then like
does,
everybody
like, your
at the
village
service?
Bestow it on
like,
you?
Is it like
something
part of the
feel-
ceremony is like a naming ceremony maybe?
Yeah. And then maybe you have one that like represents how you feel about yourself too, like something that it's like this is my name.
Oh, and maybe that one
is
is like only like your chosen partner, your immediate family uses that one. Like that
maybe
one.
Maybe it's on the inside of the remet.
Oh.
And so like the only person who would see it is anybody who would see you take it off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
All right.
I do too. I think that's sweet.
So
by the way, Tripper's name was Tripper because he was clumsy, not because of the other guy. I realized that, and I was like, "Wait, no, I need to clarify."
There are guidelines.
Lots of tricks.
The story is within the guidelines.
I thought you meant like it could either be that he was tripping or he was tripping other people a lot.
Right.
He is the tripper.
Watch out for him.
He's
He will
just
make
a
you
jerk.
fall
He's
down.
just like they're walking along a trail after a particularly hard stint, and he just sticks his leg out in front of you.
Tumble down the mountain. Oh no!
I have a different nickname I'd give that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
So we probably don't have family names then because we are such a community Sodal, right? We're community driven and everybody's all together kind of thing. So we probably don't have individual family names.
Yeah.
But do we have like a Sodal name? Like, is there a name for our Sodal?
Of the Sodal?
Because we would know of the existence of other Sodals, right, around the place that's not ours that don't.
Yeah.
Don't live
Well,
with
let's give our Sodal a group name. Followers of.
Because that might.
I
thought the group name was Sodal.
Oh no, that's the name of the group. Like that's the.
It's like
that's
saying
like the
clan
word
or
for
tribe or family.
Tribe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what do you think?
Because I feel like that'll.
We are.
Speak to the name.
I'm so bad at naming things. This is my creative weakness.
No.
This is how I
Achilles
one
heel.
of the ways that I often will name things like that is I'll look for like reference, particularly in like Latin or what it. So I've got it up in front of me that the Latin for reindeer is Rangifer tarandus. So we could use something like
Because
that.
I pull from Thai words a lot and like Thai
Tarandus.
names.
Tarandus could be cool.
Tarandus. Yeah.
It sounds almost like Tyrannosaurus. It sounds like threatening almost.
Sounds very
That is
fierce.
very cool.
It's got a fierce.
The Tyrannus Sodal.
Yeah.
The Tyrannus Sodal.
So we are-
it's got
Good like battle cry sound to it, like Tyrannus. You could yell that.
Tyrannus.
How are we spelling that?
Tarandus.
Fabulous. Thank you.
The Latin species name for the.
So then I do feel I tend to name very cutesy things for my characters, which I think would be very funny for this like grand last name and have her first name be like Bitsy. But
Bitsy, the twice murderer.
Bitsy, the twice dead first revived.
Bitsy, the unstoppable force of fury.
So where do we want to start? Let's see. Well, at the top of my screen at this moment is Patrick. So what are we naming our wild magics wielder?
Who wields the spear?
I'm thinking.
Magic.
I'm thinking something along the lines of like Elamir.
Elamir.
Like Elemeor.
Okay. but then we would be giving you your
The
So
nickname,
Elamir would be
yeah.
the name, and then we
and
give the
then
nickname.
the
Elamir, and wild magic. Tell me about this system and what that actually means. Does it mean in any way the same as like wild magic sorcerers in D&D? Like you're actually using magic,
Or is it
So
magics
because
of
this-
the wild?
well, it's more that, but it's it just means that because of the type of die that Patrick will be rolling,
Mhm.
Mhm.
they are much more likely to succeed when we are doing the magic check.
The magic check. Okay, so they are better with magic.
With
and
magic,
manipulations
magic
of
and movement is pretty much
So the-
where they are at.
magic and movement. So we've got some movement like the fire. Fire is magic in this
Mhm.
world, and so we've got the flickering of the flames. It's like easy to move out of the way. You don't.
Mhm,
It doesn't have a physical form. So something about that erratic kind of movement, and something to do with flames. Elamir the
Is
erratic,
Elamir chaotic?
Elamir the chaotic,
Ooh.
Elamir the unpredictable, Elamir the Elamir
Elamir
the one who
wily.
cannot be tied down. The
Would-
one who
Would Elamir have more of a history of using her gift in a destructive way, even if it's like controlled and helpful, or in more of a like
Creationatory.
way?
So
Yeah.
I think creation. I think it's something to do with
Elamir the
Maybe
mercurial.
like Elamir the Giver.
Mercurial. I like that.
mercurial.
Ooh.
I think it's more along the lines of self-expression, and maybe like if there's a festival, like creating all of these like lights in the
So
sky.
maybe Elamir the Bright.
Elamir the bright.
Ooh.
Elamir the
Elamir
Bright's good.
Bright flickering flames.
Maybe that
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily translate to intellect.
Right.
Oh.
That's the joke.
That could be. Yeah, it's like
My
calling
character
Little
has a
John.
meaning. That's the joke.
Yeah,
Oh,
Little John or Tiny.
Elamir
Those
the
sorts of names that you give
simple
somebody.
wasn't nice.
Elamir the bright.
Elamir the
I
thick
like
as
that.
pig
Right
shit
wielder.
didn't roll off the tongue.
Okay, so then we have next on my list is Rob, who is she who wields the shield and axe.
Shield and axe.
So
And
it's
what does that mean for me? in
Strength and
terms of
heart.
being-
You are especially good at sort of affecting the world around you with the strength of your personality and your heart.
Okay.
And you are also nothing to sneeze at with your like protection and fighting rolls.
Okay. I think Tessa just came to mind for some
Tessa.
reason. So Tessa is my given name. Tessa is, and then Tessa the what?
Is Tessa aggressive or defensive?
She wields the shield and axe with my strength and heart. I'm like, I feel like I am. There's a word for it. I can't remember the sort of person where you are. If you're on her good side, she's lovely and like really hospitable. She's like she makes the best scones, and she's like she'll like always make sure that you're feeding really well, and she's really. But then she has a really fiery temper. If somebody, she's got a short fuse and a fiery temper. Like if somebody does something to wrong her family or her Sodal.
So is it Tessa the Loyal?
Tessa the Loyal.
Ooh.
That could be cool.
Ring
Tessa
trap.
Yeah. Because
So
the
do you
way
guys
you were
have to
describing
decide.
her seems like
Yeah.
She's like a grandmotherly type. I imagine that she's like
The dedicated.
is it Tessa the maternal?
Tess the maternal. That could be, because then maternal prides and things they'll fiercely defend themselves.
That's I mean,
Maternal,
there's a
yeah.
reason why there's the mama bear, like
yeah, exactly. Yeah, mama bears and yeah.
also
Tess the maternal.
peahens
Do you guys
are the
though?
meanest thing in the animal kingdom. They're just like so mean. They will murder you. I've seen them attack cars
Straight
because
up.
they got too close to the
Stop.
Yeah, I got to
What?
text
What's a peahen?
it's a
the female peacock.
peacock.
Oh, wow.
my.
I didn't know
Peacock and the peahen are collectively called peafowl.
Yeah.
I learned a
That's
thing today.
very funny. I like that a lot.
Science.
Next time, it's the peahen is our mascot, so I can say that word more.
I'm sure.
We have some swamp hens in New Zealand called pukeko, and I got attacked by some pukeko for getting too close to some. Like I was just walking through the zoo, and apparently we had a nest of pukeko, and nobody really knew about it, but. That was what alerted us to the fact that they'd nested there, because I was like, we can't go in that part of the zoo anymore.
Yeah.
Boy. Wow.
Yeah, that's a thing here. It is to have peacocks just like wandering free. And I was like, but they're so mean. Like,
and they're loud. The
Yeah.
first time I heard one, I literally thought a cat was drowning in the pool.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
I got real good at imitating peacocks while we were at the zoo, because we had one roaming free. I was like, if you listen out for him, you can hear him over there. Yeah.
Did we settle on maternal for Tessa?
Do we like that?
It's up to you.
It's also
you give me the name.
nurturing.
Nurturing's also good. Although I don't feel like
I do
nurturing.
like the mother bear.
Yeah.
Nurturing
mother
doesn't
bear.
have nurturing doesn't have the same element of the fiercely defensive one as well. Like so Tessa the maternal or Tessa the mother bear?
Motherly. Ooh.
Tessa the motherly. Tessa the mother bear. Tessa the protective. Tessa. It's up to you. You have to give me the name.
Maternal also sounds like eternal, which is sort of like, ooh, that's spooky.
Yeah.
And she will never leave.
Eternal maternal. Oh gosh.
All right. Tessa the maternal.
Okay.
All
right. How about Lexi, who is she who wields the sword?
Yes.
And with her powerful presence.
So her name is going to be Deji, which is Deji.
Okay.
I figure personality-wise, they kind of they're a little more unemotional, I think, than maybe the rest of the party. They're a little more logical, a little more rational and reserved. Like if there is a village discussion about what to do about something, they are the person who will sit and listen kind of through all the arguing and all the yelling and all of the discussion. And then at the very end, will kind of like come in with like, all right, this is what we're going to do. But they'll be pretty firm and like, this is what we're going to do when they do eventually come in, but they're not, they don't really like rise to the bait of like arguing, and like they'll like debate and have a conversation if they need to, but they're not going to like get heated, but they will be very, very firm.
So
Deji the stone.
Stoic
Deji
is
the
good.
Stoic, yeah. Deji the
or
calculated.
patient.
Deji the patient.
I like stoic though. That word did come into my brain.
They're not mean for sure. They don't come in like I don't care, but it's just like they just don't show.
I was saying stoic works too. I was saying stone.
Oh, stone.
Oh, stone. That's cool. Deji the stone. Deji the stone.
I'm gonna let you guys decide.
I
Drink water until
know it's really hard to like.
Stone does to me indicate. Yeah, stone to me does have a hint of lack of care. Like it's stone-hearted and it's got these cold
kind of cold, yeah.
Cold, yeah. So because originally I was thinking like Deji the cold or something, but then you said she doesn't come in like careless. She's just listening and weighing all the options before she comes in. So Deji the patient or stoic or steadfast. Deji the
steadfast. I like. That's a cool one.
Deji the steadfast. Although she's not, is she unmoving in her decisions though, or is she like? Because she's more willing to change her mind because she's logical,
say that
right?
it
So if
takes her
she's
a
presented
long
with the
time
right
to come to the decision, like she can be like she'll hear both sides. Like she doesn't like come in like I already know what I'm going to do. But once she does eventually get to that decision, it's going to take lot once she gets there. But she'll take her sweet time getting there. It's like
I kind of like something like Deji the calculating. Then I'll check Deji the calculated. Deji the I feel like there's a word for it.
Oh yeah.
Deji the considerate. Deji the because she's considering all the options. Deji the
conscientious.
Conscientious.
It's hard to say though. Quickly, Deji the conscientious.
Conscientious. Deji the conch.
Contemplative.
Hey, it's conchi.
Contemplative.
But
Because it doesn't
Someone
also have to
looking
be
for
like
content
the
with
word
it.
for that thing. It can be like
Right.
like Patrick was saying, like an
Mhm.
object, like stone or something. If there's an object or an item or an animal that indicates those sorts of same feelings
Right.
of like is there an animal that like will take in all the options before deciding what to do? Is there
Pensive
animal
is
that's known
another
for being
one.
Pensive.
Deji the
Desi
pensive.
the pensive.
Pensive. Kind of like that. Nothing's like gone bing. It's that one.
Yeah.
They're all good, but I just feel like there's another one that's just like
What's
right.
a pensive animal?
I would say that she tends to be the kind of person, like I would imagine people in the village come to her for advice fairly regularly because she's known for being like, if you can't make a decision, she's a pretty good person to go to be like, all right, let's weigh your pros and cons. Like,
yeah, Deji the Wise. Deji the Wise is simple
Desi
enough. Like
Deji the old oak
Deji the old
Oh.
oak. Deji the old
or oak.
Deji the oak.
Like that reminiscent of that, like that tree that has grown slowly
Dependable.
over many years that takes
Deji the
its
dependable.
time.
I like dependable too.
Deji the dependable. Deji the Wise.
Like going
Deji
off
the
of
oak.
that, like is always there and we've watched her grow and
Yeah.
yeah.
Deji the deciduous.
And then she sheds her leaves every.
Deji the deliberate.
I like deliberate. I like
She's
the
deliberating.
alliteration of
Yeah, I
the
did
two
like
D's, the
Deji the
consonant.
deliberate.
What do you think, Patrick? Deliberate?
I like deliberate, yeah.
It seems to get all of those things to me. Like it feels
Mhm.
like she deliberates on the decision before she makes it. She
And
thinks
she's
about it.
and Lexi looks very happy.
She's
with
not
that.
just as a whim
I
coming up with
also am
anything.
a
She's
sucker for
deliberate about her
alliteration.
choice.
So
Mhm.
I have
Okay,
an
Deji the
interesting,
deliberate. I like.
I have an interesting question because we kind of brought it up with Tessa. Do each of us have an animal that we associate with outside of
the reindeer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the mother bear and the could be.
I feel like in this culture, I don't think it would be like a specific like like a
I also
specific-
feel that way.
Thank you. I feel like it wouldn't necessarily be like a formal part of the culture to have an assigned animal, like the names and
Yeah.
titles, because they're so focused on the reindeer.
Mhm.
I think it would almost be like it's like almost insulting, like spreading the worship.
Yeah,
Mm.
I agree.
I bet that there are
Right.
some elders, though, maybe like our high holy people who
Oh yeah,
are named
like it's almost
like-
like the ranking system within like the religious culture.
yeah, like I would bet that there's probably somebody the antler, right? Like that's somebody
Yeah.
who's like
the hoof,
right, like
the pelts,
Oh,
or
yeah,
like
the
our
parts.
like our high either within the religion or like the ruling like
the governing
decision
body.
making
Yeah.
that they're sort of named after
I
reindeer
feel like
stuff.
I think like the antler would be the one that's in charge of like the justice system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Just,
would
like in
bet
charge, full stop.
and I would bet that maybe the velvet is in charge of the children.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
cute.
Like maybe that's like the teacher. So instead of
Yeah.
calling them the teacher, that's their velvet.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
velvet.
I like that a lot.
Me
What sort of-
too.
What sort of? I know we're getting on a tangent away from names, but
No,
what
I
sort
love
of
it.
group size have we got on again about the Sodal? What sort are you guys thinking for population of our Sodal?
I think there's probably like, what do you think, like 30 to 50 people? Like, I think it's probably not like hundreds of people, but I think
Okay.
Oh, I was thinking even maybe like 100.
100
100, 150.
Yeah, I think
something like
around that time. Yeah, I can see
Yeah, I
that.
think 30 is a little low, but I think about 100 is good.
For like an established non-nomadic village. I
Yes.
feel like.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And because we're not the first generation, we're not
Yeah.
like there
Right,
would have
right.
only been
Okay,
a
yeah,
couple
because we're
dozen.
like
Fourth
third or
generation
fourth generation.
established,
That's probably,
yeah.
So there's been a gradual growing of the population over
Yeah,
the
it's definitely
over the,
not like,
generations.
hundreds and hundreds, but
No. Less than between what are we saying? Like
1 to
between 100 and 200 then, somewhere in that
Yeah.
range.
I can see that.
All right, cool. I'm good with that as well.
that's like
so
a
we've
small
got
high school.
Yeah.
It's a small town
We've
high
got-
school of
Well,
people.
yeah.
So weird because
It's
of
the high school.
because of the internet, I've lost like a complete any sort of concept of what 150 people.
I know. Like I literally, the way I
Yeah.
remember is like my high school was like 500 people, I think,
Yeah,
for a
I
high
think
school
mine was
total.
like
So
4.
that's like my initial gauge for like what a group of people looks
Right.
like. It's like I
Is
was
it
like
less
our
than
high
this or more than
school
this?
like
Yeah.
auditorium full of people.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
I
fair.
did that a lot when back in the before ages when we used to go to concerts and things. I used to do that a lot, looking around at the venue and being like, and I'd look up on my phone, what does this venue hold? And then I'd try and like get a visual gauge and be like, okay, so this is what 14,000 people looks like.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
It's hard, like, because once you get past 30, like a classroom of people,
You
again,
just can't.
yeah,
I
I don't know. What do people look like
Yeah.
anymore?
What,
all right, so
do
we've got-
people look like anymore?
No anymore.
it's more what does the bottom half of people look
I
like?
know,
Everybody- you know what this part looks like.
Everybody looks
I don't-
like oh, and
Everybody
also
has
like
legs.
I
and
just checked
Yeah,
my
like-
bottom half. Like, wow, you're right. Look
when
at
I
that.
meet somebody that I've only seen online, it always startles me their height.
Yeah,
Because you're like,
Always.
oh wow, you're not
Because I
all
have no
exact same
idea
height.
what their
Yeah.
height is.
Boxes.
And every so often I've been like, you are much taller than I thought.
okay. I realize that like I subconsciously assign a height to someone when I'm talking to them online. We meet them in person, and I'm like, there was no rhyme or reason to the height I gave you, so it's probably wrong.
Probably not.
Based off of nothing.
Oh, good talk.
Maybe it's some sort of subconscious thing going on there.
Yeah.
Have you noticed a pattern between the people that you allocate as being tall and the people you don't? All right, so we've got Deji the Deliberate, Tessa the Maternal. I've forgotten Patrick's. What was
You're
yours?
the bright.
Elamir the Bright.
It's Elemir?
Leoemyr.
Oh, I had that spelled
All
completely
right.
wrong.
Elamir the Bright, we said.
The
yeah.
Bright.
Cool. And then we lastly have
We have me.
Sarah
I
the
am
Moor.
Sarah the Moor.
Yeah, there
Sarah
you
the
go.
Table.
Done.
Sarah the Table. Right. I'm she who wields the knife. I solve my problems with wisdom and perception.
Ooh.
I see myself as a very tiny person. I think the reason why she uses her wisdom and perception is because she is not like physically super strong. I think she's just a little bit of a thing. I think her name is Nolia. Nolia. Nolia.
Nolia the Petite. Nolia the Mouse.
The mouse.
Kind of and wisdom and perception. So you're just like, you're always looking out. You're always aware of
always,
what's going on.
always aware.
So
I kind of do like Nolia the Mouse because
Yeah.
mice are like they're tiny and they know that they're not physically intimidating and they know that the only way they can survive is constantly being aware of themselves. And
So my
everything around them.
question would be, does your like perception exercise, does that make you more skittish? In which case I'd agree with Mouse, where you're more like, I'm like using my wisdom to constantly kind of be on alert and like dodge trouble? Or are you more like, I'm small and use my unassuming size and my wisdom to like sass my way?
Right.
I-
yeah,
I-
you can
you
be
know,
like,
like,
I
I
can get
do-
away with more
go.
because
Yeah, I do
because
like
I'm
the
tiny.
idea that like as I'm in, like she embraces that she is just like not intimidating. Like people are comfortable around her, and so she is able to like, you know how you
Nolia the
have
bunny.
that friend.
Nolia the Disarming.
You have that
Nolia the
friend
Disarming.
that just like suddenly you're like, I don't know how we were talking about it, but I just told you all about those really
Yeah.
I told you
painful
lots
things
of
from my
they just
childhood.
came, they just came straight out.
I
It's
just am
that-
like
You're so
surprised.
feeling
I've said all
of-
the things. I think she is like very comfortable with who she is and
Yeah.
like knows what she's not, and so doesn't ever
Mhm.
try to be what she's not, which I think is important. I do
Yeah.
like, I mean, the disarming is
Yeah.
fun.
What about
disarming-
Nolia the unassuming?
unassuming. So the thing about this is that I feel like unassuming and disarming are like perfect adjectives for what we're describing, but I feel like
There's a
giving her
simpler
that name
word.
makes it
Yeah.
sort of
Makes
like
it as-
undermines the
Yeah.
fact that she's disarming.
That's fair.
So I feel like it should be I quite like the idea for some reason that it's a bunny rabbit or something like Nolia the
Yeah.
bunny.
Mhm.
And bunnies are like cute and cuddly, and you wouldn't think twice about telling a bunny your secrets because what are they
Exactly.
going to do with it? And so I don't know. I feel like we need the essence of disarming and unassuming without using those
Yeah.
words.
Do we
Nolia
have
the Charming could be cool.
Because I
Or
think
just Nolia the
mouse
Bunny.
could work if our village has like a different relation. Because I feel like in our modern society, you kind of associate mouse just like you don't want it there. It's not comforting, but maybe it has a different association.
Yeah, which is why when she said it's like a comforting person, I changed it to bunny because I felt like everybody loves bunny rabbit.
But I like the idea of it being like the animal. Like a cute little animal.
Right.
Or what is there a name for like a baby reindeer?
Oh,
there will be. I
mean, I think they're calves.
Or the fawn, or the calf. It's calves. You're right. That was on Google. I was reading. No, that's too like childish. Yeah, like bunny or mouse. I think whatever like tiny animal, like what's like a pet in this culture? Do we have small pets? Is that a thing?
I'm sure we do. Point. I mean, I think humans are always going to have pets.
Yeah, because I think basically whatever animal is like the comfort creature of this society is.
I was thinking if it was foxes, because foxes are so usually associated with with being like sly and clever and somewhat like
cunning
in certain aspects, like deceiving, but they're freaking adorable. Like they're so cute.
So here's a question then.
They're adorable.
Because we need the animal to be a cute pet sort of animal, and we need to decide on the pets of this Sodal. But in order to decide on the pets, we need to know: are we a hunting or agricultural Sodal? Because if we're a hunting tribe mostly, then it will be our pets will usually be dogs and foxes,
right?
Things that we can use to hunt with
to help us, right?
Right.
So are we mostly hunting, or do we farm animals, or are we vegetarian society? I don't know.
Well, in the place that we live with the mountains, it's probably not a lot of open land for big farming.
Clearing out the trees in that forestry area would not be.
So it would be cattle farming rather than it would be livestock farming, I should say, rather than
we do have farming. Bison.
Yeah. We do have bison.
We do have bison.
Yeah.
So do we So we do have what would we use the bison for if not crop farming? Now looking up if there's a name for a baby bison.
Yeah, bison have to live in like open fields, don't they?
Yeah. I think there are open fields in some cases. I think we do live sort of among the trees, because when you have like a civilization that lives in like heavily wooded areas, what you want to do is not necessarily take down a lot of the trees to sort of like make room. You sort of want to work with the trees so that it then protects from the elements.
Yeah.
Things like huge blizzards and things that come through the area, we would be fairly well guarded within that forested.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a good time to let you guys know that my worst subject is geography. Cool. Hands down.
Okay, great.
I'm pretty good at it, so we're good.
It's all right. It's all right.
I'm
as a Sodal, we are making up for each other's weaknesses.
Right?
Like,
exactly.
You don't need to know about
take a back seat to this part of the discussion.
This is not your job.
Living in this sort of rainforesty area with mountainous terrain around doesn't bode well to have large crop farms, but we could definitely have smaller clearings that are growing basically vegetable gardens and things.
Veggies, yeah.
And because we're only like 150 people, a couple of vegetable gardens dotted around is perfectly enough.
Yeah,
it's
and we probably do a lot of like mushrooms and things that will grow on the trees. And you do a lot of mushrooms.
Hi,
everyone.
So we wouldn't need a lot of bison if we're not doing large scale agriculture. But we would probably supplement. Are we vegetarian or not? I think is the next question, because if we're not, then we need some sort of incoming meat, so either hunting or livestock farming.
I feel like we're probably not.
Probably not.
I don't know why I think that.
I would agree.
Yeah, I just feel like logistically, if we don't have access to like huge like farming like
a high source of protein.
I think one of the reasons why I feel like we're not is because we did make a big deal out of how we don't eat reindeer.
I think so too.
True.
And if we were a vegetarian society, then that wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't come into play. I'd be like, we just don't.
Yeah, right.
Good point.
So
we're not as a group, as a Sodal, we're not vegetarians, but vegetarians exist among the Sodal.
Oh sure, yeah. I'm sure there are people who choose that.
Yeah, so if we're not a vegetarian Sodal, then we are having some meat incoming. Is it coming from hunting or livestock? Kind of both, probably, but which is predominant?
Little column A, little column B.
Which are we more focused on?
I think we do probably have like people whose job in the Sodal is to be hunters. Like that is probably
I felt I was leaning towards hunting as well, because it kind of leans in with us making weapons out of antlers in order to hunt.
Yeah,
right.
So we're mostly hunters, which would mean that our pets are usually stuff that would either protect the Sodal while the hunters are out, or they're stuff that can help us on the hunt. Either way, they're usually like dogs and foxes and larger, slightly more intimidating animals. And then the cute ones of those, like the pups. So it could be that we have fox. We could have had hunting foxes. I kind of like the idea of that.
What about Nolia the pup?
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, like, Nolia the pup, and it's like a fox pup.
I think that's cute.
Well, little foxes are called kits.
Kits.
Oh, Nolia the kit.
Nolia the kit.
Oh,
named after
really
the baby foxes.
See, don't you just want to tell her all your secrets?
I do. So about the post-game meeting that we usually have.
I have to say something.
I'd like to start when I was 5.
I found it's one of those where like you can call them pups or kits.
Pups or kits.
Either one works for foxes.
I like the kit.
Kind of like, okay.
Nolia the kit.
Which one do you like? Nolia the kit?
Yeah, they're both really cute.
Yeah,
they're both good.
Well,
Nolia
the nugget.
Nolia the nugget.
Nolia, when I was a young boy, my father took me into the city to see a marching band.
No.
Okay.
So we're going with Nolia the kit.
You're the kit.
Yeah. All right. Lock it in. So I like the idea as well that we do have like hunting foxes that are bred for the same use as like domesticated dogs came about.
Right.
We just went with our ancestry went with foxes instead of wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just throw out there right now that Deji definitely has a pet fox?
Mm-hmm.
Like I just want that established. Like, not changing.
Yeah, I mean,
cool.
I feel like
if
Nolia's name is Nolia the kit, I feel like she probably has like trained foxes. Like she probably has several that like
she's like the fox whisperer for the thing.
Maybe
where
there
do you go get your foxes from
Nolia? Maybe it's more of like a big cat area, and the things that we would have been able to domesticate were foxes. Maybe like
oh yeah.
I love cats.
So
because
no
there's
wolves
just like
in the area.
They're not wolves. It's like
just foxes. Yeah, I like that.
It's like
large
lions
foxes
and stuff. Oh yeah, are they oversized? Are they bigger? Are they like
dire foxes?
Dire foxes, yeah.
Big.
I don't know.
Big ones.
I'm fine with either way.
I'm gonna just say yes to
big
dire foxes.
Yes to the dire fox. Thank you.
Like there are normal sized foxes, but there are also dire foxes.
How would we? The problem with that, as cool as it is, the problem is then how do we prevent our dire foxes from killing reindeer? Because they would.
We don't. Oh, we don't have the dire. I thought like we would have normal foxes. And there's like our
right, there are dire foxes.
Dire foxes exist in the world.
They're like the ones that we have not domesticated.
Right. Gotcha.
Right.
So we've domesticated
the wolves
foxes
versus the puppies.
Yeah.
But we sure do try every once in a while.
Yeah.
Still. Like, well, maybe I could just
somebody's trying to domesticate a dire fox.
Yeah. And like we have a legend
Nolia.
about like maybe like the one person who did. You know, it's like part of our legends, but no one of current living has a domesticated dire fox.
Right. And you can like, and I imagine after like over generations, you train them not to hunt or go after like certain animals. Like you discourage that behavior, but then you encourage it towards others. Because I don't think that we would necessarily like if you see a dire fox in the woods going after a reindeer, I don't know that you then kill the dire fox, because there is that sort of understanding within our society and within like that fire is necessary.
Like we didn't do it
for
nature do
exactly. Yeah. It's like you see that happening as much as you're like, that's unfortunate, but you leave it be.
But you're not going to intervene with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless you're hunting dire fox at the time.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
exactly. Unless you're hunting a dire fox, you're like, 2 in 1.
We would probably eat those too. That would be a source of meat for us, would be dire foxes.
Cute. Yeah.
Probably. Generally speaking, like obviously this is real life talking, but we can ignore this if it's not. But generally, you don't hunt carnivores because there's like a percentage drop off of
right,
nutrition.
because you need
the further you get from
the
sun,
prey animals. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I think probably if it has been a particularly rough season and that's what we can find, then we probably still do.
Yeah.
You eat what you can eat.
For sure.
It also doesn't
I love it.
do
This is going well.
It also doesn't do to kill off the predator population, because then the reindeer population would skyrocket.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you're like, there are a million.
Well, it's all reindeer and you can't hunt them.
we are overgrown with bunnies, and there's nothing we can do.
That was cool.
So we do. I also
game.
think it would be good for us to name our weapons.
Oh yeah. Do we have the weapons that we are given the names of? Do we literally fight with
the ones
sword
that you,
shield,
whatever one that you are wielding with because of your die type and your role in the thing? So that is the weapon that you have, and you may name it. Do we have a naming convention?
The weapons?
We don't have to, but is there something that we traditionally do? Is it how you drew first blood with it, or
it's like the name of whatever your first animal kill was? Some people have like this giant sword called the rabbit.
Yeah, interesting.
Bunny.
Rabbit's bane.
Yeah.
Hare's bane.
You're telling me your dagger's really called elephant? Come on. No, I swear to God, my little dagger's called elephant.
Trust me. It's crocodile. I swear.
Yeah, this is my giant fox slingshot.
We'll say if you have a sword that's killed a rabbit, that was the first kill. You're very quick with that sword.
Super quick.
That's a good strike.
Yeah.
Actually, not a bad name for a sword.
Shield.
Or they could just have names that are not that as well.
Yeah. No, but I do like that it's an action that you've taken with it.
I think that I am going to play off the fact that my name is about a fox, and they sort of nip at things. So I think my knife is called Nipper.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like that.
Like that. What is my? Oh, it's the spear.
Spear.
Okay.
Ooh, I think I'm gonna whatever, because I actually got this inspired because Patrick, you said stone earlier. I think her sword is actually named after whatever the mountain that we are living at the base of is named, because she likes to think of it as unmoving as she is.
Ooh.
Nice. I like that.
So now we have to name the mountain.
We'll have to name it.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I was not prepared to do, but
right? Down the road.
Mount, would it be like? Would it be named after, would there be a legend around it? I feel like.
So, I mean, perhaps it's a mountain range, right? We talked about it being mountainous, and perhaps the mountain, if we're going with to sort of tie into your thing that is that you are strong and unmoving and steadfast, perhaps the mountain range is called the Spine.
Spine.
Yeah. So her sword is just the spine.
Oh, that's terrifying. Yeah. That's really
and it's
cool.
because it's also oh no, she calls her sword the backbone. It's
the backbone.
Nod to the spine. She has
I like that.
I like that. The backbone.
She's old backbone and I are just vibing here.
Is Deji the kind of person that will chat with her weapon?
So how sometimes you have that friend where it's the nonverbal communication, you see them looking at each other and something's happening. I think that they actually had that kind of a relationship. You see them looking at their sword occasionally, and I think when they're trying to decide something, that's kind of their rituals. They pull out their sword and they're almost look at their sword they're silently deliberating with the sword, and then they come up and they're I've made a decision. But it's the unspoken is kind of backbone and I have made a decision.
I like that.
Yeah, they don't say backbone and I have made a decision, but that's kind of the implication.
Do you ever say we've made a decision?
I don't. Deji never says it, but it's it's this weird unspoken, everyone in the village knows that's just that's the thing. Because I think what happens if someone really goes against her to the point of duel or combat, Deji's pretty capable, and it always Deji probably has other weapons as well, as anyone probably has more than one for survival.
Sure.
The backbone is always the go-to. And I think it's almost kind of like an intimidation factor. Like she knows that it is like when she like has made like a final decision, maybe she has a habit of kind of like laying backbone out in front of her, like, and then being like, here's what we're doing.
That's not intimidating at all. It's fine.
That's terrifying, and I love it.
Right. And if you come to Deji for like more emotional advice, then like it's a very like Deji's a very like speak with actions kind of person, I think. So they'll like kind of like put like set backbone aside and then like lean in to listen. It's a very
I feel like
choice.
It feels to me the way you are describing Deji that her love language is acts of service. Yes. Is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely.
I'm going to fix this problem for you.
Yep.
Oh,
I will solve it. And if solving it means telling you how very wrong you are, then that is still my love language. Telling you messed up is me loving you.
My act of service is reminding you that you're a dumbass.
Exactly. And then I will help you fix your problem because I love you, but I will let you know that you are the problem.
But you are the thing that needs to be fixed.
Exactly. I will fix
the problem until we acknowledge what the problem is.
And the problem is you. And the problem is you.
I think my shield is called Stop It.
Nice.
Just one word. Just one word. Stop it. And my axe, I'm thinking, is Deterrent.
Ooh.
Not the deterrent, just deterrent. Like, do you want to meet Deterrent? And then I was like, stop it. Stop it.
I mean, I definitely thought you were going to say chop it, that it was going to be stop it and chop it.
Stop it and chop it. Like, actually, I prefer that.
Slap
That's definitely better. That's now what it is.
We got the shield is named Slap and the
it.
sword is named Chop. The axe is named Chop.
Stop it and chop it. I'm going to, that's what it is.
There you go.
Stop
it and chop it.
Like chop it.
All
right, spear it up.
Yeah, I was thinking of like with Elamir and this sort of like fascination with like lights and creation. Maybe like as a child looked up to the night sky for that inspiration, was always fascinated with it.
Yeah.
And would often see these streaks of light like spears through the sky. And I was thinking Starfall.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Starfall. Streaking shooting star.
That's real cool.
It's like a spear in the sky. I like
that. All right, so now we are setting the scene. And we need to set what the great event is. When we sit down to do our actual, like when we do the 4 separate sessions that we are going to do in our next show, it is on the eve of a particularly important event. So the idea is that these storytelling gather around the fire moments happen before something very important in our Sodal. So what is happening tomorrow? Is it?
So we mentioned a little about like the velvet and the antler, and like what's our ruling system? Is it like a council of elders, or is it like an oligarchy? Are we in like a democracy? How do we rule? Because if we have anybody that's like in charge, it could be that their kid is about to have their
like an ascension to.
Yeah, it could be that they're. I don't know.
That or potentially.
But if we don't have like a council.
The anniversary of the
migration
where we vaguely think the great fire happened. We just picked the day.
I was going to throw out it could be the night before the kind of mass wedding ceremony that the village does each year.
Oh yeah, of course.
Could be before that, it could be the night before the funeral of somebody important in the Sodal as well.
Well, these are all great ideas.
There's so many good options.
The funeral. So the night before the funeral would mean that we've got the storyteller who's copying and weaving the ramat.
Yeah.
And they're about to burn it, but they need to make a copy of it first for the tapestry.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be important. Like,
because then it has that storytelling device.
It also could be like there could once a year be another Sodal that comes to visit.
Oh, and we share stories.
Yeah, it could be like an important, like a trade event that happens once a year with another Sodal. Could be it could be the beginning of a fight, a war of some kind that we are prepping for, or the beginning of a season. Maybe it's the beginning of the season when everybody can go out and try to find the antlers to propose.
What if the reindeer didn't come back and we're about to burn it all down?
We're about to leave. It's the eve of the migrating.
The eve of the migrating of the next migration.
That's pretty heavy. That is pretty. That's pretty big.
That's a lot of choices.
I don't know.
Listen, we'll just have you come back. We'll just do all of them.
I know. Can you go for like a year in the life of our Sodal?
This is the next, 6 months of episodes.
Well, that was my question. Actually, is that our stories? Is it like each of us tells a story all in one episode, or is like?
Yeah. So traditionally, because this is a shared GM experience, the way that I have always played it in the past is that each story is really only about 20 to 30 minutes.
Right.
It is meant to be you're sitting around the campfire, you tell your tale. There is still plenty of time for you to sort of pass that proverbial baton to your next person.
Right.
Because in all honesty, you are probably also working at the fire. And so like you probably shouldn't be spending 3 hours telling a story. You tell a story and then someone else picks up the thread and tells another tale. So
then we would have this storytelling tradition as a purpose of passing on all oral traditions that we feel is important to our Sodal. And why would we need to do that? What is an event where it is important that our young folk have heard freshly in their minds the stories of our ancestors? I like the idea that the other Sodal coming through, like a migratory one, and so it's important to have fresh in the young people's minds who we are, so that we don't get tied, we don't lose ourselves in them and their Sodal.
Well, and I would imagine that there's probably some trade of people as well. If there's a migratory Sodal that comes through, that perhaps, maybe there's some a bit of intermarriage at parts where we might lose some of our young people to them. So if we are indeed going to do that, then we would definitely want to make sure like they have all of our stories.
These are our stories
in case they
before
leave.
You go off and in case you find somebody and marry them. You're silent, Patrick. You're silent.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, well, you weren't talking. You had a very intense look, and so
you sounded like you were trying to say something. I thought you were mouthing words and I couldn't hear them.
Oh, I was. Yeah, I was like, so that they can remember who they are and like where they came. Mike could not have been picking it up. I'm sorry.
Welcome back.
Speaking too low for the gate on your microphone to pick up.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So do we want that migratory Sodal thing then, or?
Yeah, I like that.
I like that.
I think it's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Migratory Sodal, like a sister Sodal. Let's tie it back to the name of the piece.
Yeah.
Full circle. It's like a cute, it's a perfect little bow on it.
It's the eve of the event when they will be arriving. So we know that they're arriving because they arrive on this exact date every year, or because they send somebody ahead, some faster.
I imagine like a scout would come.
I imagine they would send.
Hey,
we're about half a day away.
Yeah.
Because like all of a sudden it's like they don't arrive on the same day. It's like they always arrive on the same day. They're all dead.
How do we even know it's the same day?
No, like.
How do we keep track of our days? I don't know.
Marcy got sick on the way here. We had to stop.
Sorry, we had to stop.
It's
We all took an extra day.
Our wagon wheel fell off.
No problem.
Exactly.
Okay, great. So how in depth do we want to go into this other Sodal? Can we at least say what animal that they're god.
Animal they
yeah.
worship.
Yeah,
Maybe they have
what's their
something
animal?
a little big.
Dire fox.
Like you said, the crow.
Dire foxes.
Dire fox.
That would be interesting because we acknowledge that in nature there is that obviously that predator prey mentality.
Yeah.
But then maybe we acknowledge that it's more of a, like, in the grand scheme of things, it's a symbiotic relationship because
Maybe they're
it keeps
nomadic.
both populations in check.
Yeah, I quite like that they're nomadic and migratory because they are following the reindeer herd that we expect coming back. But they also know and acknowledge that if they were to kill and wipe out this reindeer herd, then they're out of food.
They would have nothing to eat. Yeah.
They're smart about it.
They have to keep that alive.
Unlike certain historical cultures that don't do that.
Ooh.
Gulp.
Okay, so our next bit is to establish the relationships between the four of us. And there is a way that you can do this. We're going to do it. Everybody will have a D4 and you're going to roll it. You'll roll it 3 times. And that will give you, so once for each of your other members. And then I will give you what they are. So here's the thing. There are 4 choices: childhood companion, fierce rival, respected partner, and true sister. What's interesting about this is that the way that you feel about your fellow player does not have to be the way that they feel about you. So depending on how your roles come up.
Yes, rival.
I'm so excited.
Sister.
Yeah, somebody could think that you are their
Childhood
true
friend.
sister, and the other
rival.
one assumes it views you as a rival.
That's one of my favorite dynamics. Is
I
the
love
one
that.
person who is like, "Fight me! I must defeat you." And like, "Hey, buddy, how's it going?"
So do we know
Vegeta
what
relationship.
each other roles, or do we get to figure it out?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we'll do it for sure. So we have Nolia, Elamir.
I love that. I love that so much. It's my
That's
favorite
fantastic.
dynamic.
Can we start rolling? I'm so excited. I love
absolutely.
this.
So tell me, well, you are Jazz, so we'll go with you first. So who are you rolling for first?
You, Sarah, going down my list.
Roll your D4.
It is the number 1.
We are childhood companions.
Oh, so I think.
So you think.
Oh, great. That's so cute. Okay, and that makes sense with your personality. I'm like, oh, this is
Incredible.
Nolia. I tell her everything. It's fine.
She's still the same size.
Same size. Okay, Patrick is next on my list.
Okay.
It is a 2.
You are fierce rivals with Elamir.
This is interesting.
That's very good.
And then let's see with Tessa. Go ahead and roll.
Tessa, Rob. It is number 1 again.
Oh, also childhood companion.
Oh, I just
That makes
love
sense with
everyone
me.
except Elamir.
But we don't know how Elamir feels about you yet.
I
Very
know.
interesting.
All right, well, let's find out. Elamir, who are you rolling for first?
Yeah, I'll go with Lexi first.
All right, let's see.
Let's see how Tessa feels about me. That's a 3, or how I feel. Yeah.
You view her as a respected partner.
Oh, mate.
That's very funny.
That's actually an awesome time. So maybe we work together
Digi.
a lot, or like work in similar ways.
Yeah.
Who's next? Who are you going to roll about next?
Oh yes. Let's go, Rob.
Okay.
2.
Tessa is your fierce rival.
Yeah.
Likewise.
He's not good. He's like, I don't know. I rolled all twos.
Why am I 2 people's fierce rivals?
And they're different.
All right, and then we've got you, Sarah.
It's me.
That's a 1.
Childhood companion.
Yeah.
We all
Everyone's
think
your
Nolia
childhood
is our little
companion.
best friend.
Everybody loves
I also rolled a 1 for you. You're my childhood companion as well.
Great.
Interestingly, I got pretty much this almost the same as Lexi because I got childhood companion for you. I got fierce rival for Patrick, and then I got a 4 for Deji the Deliberate.
Oh, Dudgie's your true sister.
True sister.
So you can decide if that means that you are related by blood or if that is like a
Yeah, like
true sister, heart-wise.
like my blood brother.
Yeah.
So for I'm so sorry, but Elamir, I just rolled that you
Rival.
Am I
are
your
also
rival?
my fierce rival.
Yes! Let's ostracize Patrick from the game.
So, but I mean, truly, you can look at that as like
It can be positive.
you drive
do-
everyone to be better.
I do like the idea that both you and Deji think that I'm your rival, but Tessa and I know the
I'm
truth.
actually your rival.
Yeah, yeah.
And meanwhile, I'm like, I love you guys. And you're like, I will defeat her one day. And then meanwhile, I'm like, I will defeat Tessa one day.
a dynamic of characters in Brooklyn Nine-Nine that like there's
I love that show.
characters
Yeah.
that, you know. So yeah, Captain Holt and Wunsch who
Yes.
hate each other and they're rivals and stuff.
Yes.
And then in the more recent
Oh,
seasons,
Yep.
something happens and then he finds out
So
that
good.
she has another rival. And he's
He's
like really
so
he's really angry about it.
Yeah.
Like so
mad.
butthurt.
Have you been cheating on me with our
With
rivalry?
another rival?
You're trying to ruin someone else's life.
I do like that at some point, like Rob, you and I have that. You're like, have
Yeah.
you been cheating on me? It's like, no, you're my true rival.
No, I
Listen,
swear you're my
they-
true rival. I don't know what
they-
they're my blood brothers. They're my
No,
true
they
sisters.
think it. Shh, don't just let him pretend. Deji, I rolled that you are my respected partner.
Aww.
And Tessa, you are my true sister.
Aw. Childhood friends and true sisters.
Everybody else is in a great relationship.
And then I hate you.
No.
Rivals can be rivals
It can be
very
friendly rivals.
important.
Yeah.
Like rival doesn't necessarily mean that you hate each other.
That we're
Like,
enemies, yeah.
This is
It does have the word fierce in it though. So
This is-
but like if you know, I think about it as like if you're on a sports team, like there's that one person that you're just like, oh, I just
Yeah.
want to be better than
Oh, I
them. But
just
like
wanna
you,
be-
yeah.
as long as
push
like
each
after
other.
every session you're like, look at my stats and you're
Right.
just looking for yours and theirs.
and yours and
Yeah.
theirs, where did I beat them this time or did they
Did I
beat
beat
me? And
them?
like it pushes you to be better. And then same or like, you know, academically, you're like, I can just
Phrasing this like as PG as humanly possible, rivals is a very common romantic trope for a reason.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Elamir the Bright. Elamir the Fight.
So
Elamir the Bright, more like Elamir the Fight. Magic staff.
yeah, you have a magic spear,
Well,
my
I'm star.
friends.
I do.
And we all want to be better because of it.
We all want to have
Stop it.
magic spear.
So that is all of the creation that we needed to do in order to be able to tell our tales in the
Yeah.
next session. So let's go around. I know we didn't do a lot of role playing today, but I still think that we can have our moments of gratitude where we call out some great stuff that happened. We had such amazing discussions today. Is there anything that really stood out for any of you?
Oh my gosh, all of it.
Yeah, so
I'm,
much
like,
stuff
trying
today.
to-
We're doing
I
this
know.
tomorrow, right? And the day after, the day after,
Yeah,
we're
the
just
day
like,
after, the day after.
most
Before we
difficult-
with a
listen
completely
outside.
new Sodal. I just want more and more villages in my
That
world.
is the most difficult part of moment of gratitude is picking one.
The
Yeah.
one I'll go with. I'll just go on instinct. My gut instinct. My the one that stood out for me is stop it and chop it. I was like, I didn't think
Yeah.
of that, and then you were like, I thought you were going to say chop it, and I was like, that's 100 times
Yeah.
better.
Of course,
Yeah.
I was going to say
Definitely
that.
that.
I definitely was.
I'm gonna go back in time 2 minutes and steal that
Yeah.
like I'd said it.
Can you edit this so that
Edit it so that I said
I
it
was the
first.
one that said it?
I'm gonna go with Rob and your creation of the Ramette in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That became like the foundation for so many different things. I think that was very, very cool. Our little friendship bracelets.
I found it something I developed over the years of like when I'm coming up with something new for world building for my games, I get myself a little too stuck on like, oh, there's this and there's this. There's like fire and reindeer, and then everything we do about that culture has to be to do with fire and I have to remind myself that people can have other things. There should be something else that comes involved, like something that's not related to those things, but they still do it anyway. And so that's why I was like, we should have. And then it became a huge part of it, which was great.
I love
Very
it.
cool.
Lexi, I'm gonna say your inspiration of like the naming scheme and having like that thing that like your family calls you, but then like you have like another nickname that you are known as like throughout the rest of that culture. I thought that was a really excellent, poignant little like tidbit to add to it, and really solidified that idea, which became such a huge thing. So I thought that was really, really excellent.
I have to say, I know that it was sort of right there at the end, but I just like loved so much that Patrick's everyone's rival.
So good.
I felt so bad when I like rolled it and was like, I can't believe that a 2 came up for you.
1 in 16 chance.
It's just a good,
1 in 60 chance, and everybody rolled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what it is.
It is what it is. Thank you so much for joining me at my table and really like getting elbow deep in this culture. Like
Yeah.
It's really fun. It's not a thing that I generally get to do with my players and or show to my players who are watching. Like I think it's just a really cool thing. I think a lot of like home campaigns don't even get this deep into everything. You're sort of thrown into it. You build your own character, and it's more about who you are than who you all are as a group.
Right.
And I think it's a very cool dynamic to do. I'm going to go around the table, and I would love for you all to tell the viewers at home where we can find you on the interweb. And this is a perfect time to plug anything that you got going on that you really want to share. I feel like there's maybe a Kickstarter happening somewhere. Let's just
Probably
start
won't be by
with
the time
Rob.
this goes live.
Yeah, let's just start with Rob. Go ahead. Tell us.
Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Hartley, GM. I'm a Dungeon Master, Games Master full-time. You may know me from Viva la Dirt League D&D on YouTube. I run that channel for them. We do have a Kickstarter going at the moment to expand Viva la Dirt League's repertoire, including a new studio where we can actually film D&D more often. So there's going to be a second campaign concurrently soon with an all-female cast. All-female and me. Then we've also got like green screen studios and stuff, so we can actually put out more and more D&D content. And I don't think that Kickstarter's still going by the time this goes out, but there's always like late pledges and stuff on Kickstarter. There's things that you can do to support us. Yeah. And then outside of Viva la Dirt League, you can find me on my own channel at twitch.tv/Robert Hartley GM. You can find me on Instagram, Robert Hartley GM. I'm good with marketing, so I've just used that name of everything. So Robert Hartley GM.
Brand recognition is important.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Twitch, wherever. And I do Dungeons and Dragons mostly, but TTRPGs in general.
Cool. What about you, Patrick?
Yes, hello. I'm Patrick Keeffe. I'm a voice actor and a regular actor, other kinds of actor. I'm also a content creator.
Voice actor, a body actor, face actor,
face actor,
hair actor,
definitely a hair
hand actor, elbow actor. Going through all the different, you can find me at That Gray Gentleman everywhere on the internet, TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, etc. You can find me here playing with Sarah occasionally, as this has become a regular thing. You can also find me over at the Writers Room 7th C, as I am sporting our brand new merch and our compass rose, which I'm very happy that worked out the way it did. We are going to be performing live at the beginning of April and at Chaosium Con. We're going to have a live show of the Writers Room 7th C, so that'll be fun. And you can also catch me performing in Actoroki at GaryCon in just a couple weeks, which I am very excited to share the stage with Sarah once again in person. Always
in
a
person.
So exciting. One day, Robert, it could be a stretch goal for you for your
there you go.
You can get over here.
When the world opens up again, I've got a lot of different conventions that I want to get to. There's lots of people I want to meet.
For sure.
Yeah.
And Lexi, where can we find you?
Hello, I am Lexi the First, pretty much across social media, TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, the whole 9 yards. You can find me monthly on the Gilding Light Twitch channel, as I am part of this season's Actoroki as one of the players. We will be very soon, now that my baby is here and slightly more grown and I have recovered from that process. We will be introducing some more D&D content to my Twitch channel. A lot of it centered around actually my husband's homebrew world that we're really excited about. So make sure to find us there and everywhere. And I'm a cosplayer, so you'll mostly find cosplay content on my non-streaming channels. So yeah.
Do that.
Awesome.
Follow her. She's a treat.
Thanks.
I'm Sarah Moore. You can find me on Facebook at Actor Sarah Moore. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and Ko-Fi and TikTok and any place else you can imagine at Pixies and Pins. You can find me every Wednesday on twitch.tv/gildinglight as the DM for Actor Oki. You can find me here every Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/GenConTV, depending on when you are watching this. Next week, we are going to finish up. Well, I can't say finish because this has been lovely and we might revisit in the future at some point. But we're going to do another episode where we tell our tales around the campfire. And then the following week is April 1st, and it's April Fool's Day. And we are going to have, dare I say it, our first puppet episode.
Oh dear.
Shenanigans.
The puppets are coming back.
They're coming back.
I don't know what we're playing yet because frankly we don't get a lot of playing done when there are puppets, but there will be puppets. You're welcome, everybody. Boy. Okay, so thank you all so much for joining me at my table. It's always lovely to have you here and see your smiling faces, and I love all of your creativity. And thank you so much at home for joining us tonight and watching. I think it would be delightful for you after you are done here to share a snack with someone in your household and to light a candle in our honor, perhaps. And as always, keep making art and keep being art. We will see you next time. Mwah. Bye. Then we're just going to dance for a little bit. Yeah. All right. We've done it. Keep going, though. Keep dancing. No, don't stop. Oh, man. I'm so proud of you all. You're still doing it.
This is so cool.